Teresa, can you check in, please?
Hello. For me, it's sorry.
Go ahead, Teresa.
Can you say what you're working on, Teresa?
Hello.
Can you say what you're working on?
Hello. Hi, Jay.
Hello.
Teresa,
Sorry.
can you tell us what you have worked on?
I'm working here. Main session preparation and support, and getting documentation in the current folder. That are the priorities, the mandatory priorities that I have to start to work on.
Do you want to say them again or write them on the notes? What was that again?
Main session preparation and support.
And what did you do for that?
This is one of the, because we are discussing before, is one of the mandatory priorities to start working on.
Well, but did you actually do any main session support?
Sorry, I cannot listen.
I can't hear anything either. Someone's got a mute. Can someone mute? I think I'll leave it to you, Aline. You can mute.
Aline, can you mute, please?
Cool, thank you. So I want to make it clear when we go through the check-ins, you just want to quickly say what you've been working on. It's okay to not have been working on something, but you want to let everybody know that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So Teresa,
Okay.
did you actually work on any preparation for the main session?
For this one that we are attending now?
Any of them. You said that you worked on preparation for main session, but I don't know, did you actually do anything?
But we are discussing now like 1 hour before that this will be like the priorities that I will be working on this week. So
okay, so you've been working on figuring out your priorities and responsibilities.
Yes, but
Okay.
to start working on them, not to write down on the main document, but to start to know how to do it.
Okay, cool. That's fine. We just want to make sure that we understand what you've been doing. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So in other words, you haven't been doing much. You know, just expecting since you're still pretty new. All right, Lucy, can keep going.
Yeah, Aline, can you check in, please? Let's go next, Abdul. Abdul? Aline is still not.
Hello, everybody. Pretty well today. Last 15 days, I have been with my family and family emergency medications. And I am super busy on that, so that's why I'm not continuing to join this community. But I'm happy to join again here. I'm at 6.5 today.
Tell us what you have been working on, what you accomplished.
No, he was away for 15 days.
Yeah, after joining yesterday, I working on Texas 2017 exam May, account verification, and this update this work reporting now. So this one.
So these are all things that you have been working on, or that you might work
This quarter working yesterday.
Yesterday. Okay, well, we'll definitely focus on the mandatory priorities. Some of those don't sound like mandatory priorities. Okay. Cool.
Okay.
Yeah. That sounds good. But it's great to have you back. And hopefully we can figure out with the budget. So maybe we should move on. Next.
Aline.
Yes, good morning, everyone. In my previous week, I only do 6 hours, 8 hours. We do spreadsheet, teamwork, hours and pay. The invoicing, 151 degrees east west, and 18 degrees west for invoice tabulation spreadsheet. And yesterday was a JS report in the 3 and 4 weeks, 18 degrees west for the month of week 1, and 151 degrees east west.
So when you guys are talking about what you're working on, you don't need to be so specific of the exact, month and everything. You can just say like invoice tabulation. That's more than enough to give us an idea.
Yeah.
Of what you're working on. Cool. Check. Well, thank you, Eileen.
Which number are you?
I'm 7.
Joyce?
Hello, good morning. It's 4 o'clock here in the morning, and for the past, number is like 5.7, and for the past week, the 3rd week, I've been working on payroll, pay and hour spreadsheet for week 2, and also of course the invoice tabulation, continuation of updating, and also midweek check for Phoenix, and some contribution ranking with Joseph and Steve. Yeah, that's all. I'm 5.7.
Mm-hmm. Albino? Or Steve? Oh, Steve. Oh. Steve. Oh, okay.
Okay.
Oh,
Hi,
can you
everyone. Hello, everyone.
Go ahead.
I'm glad once again to join this session. For the past week, I've been working on ranking and rankings verification. I've also been doing invoicing and billing. I am at 6.5. Check.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Albina, it is your turn.
For me, I'm like 6 today. Yeah, for the past week, I've been working on many things. One, updating mutual rankings. And we are almost done with the rankings, the MBT, hourly actual rankings, job average rankings, direct hour rankings, jurisdictional, and personnel rankings. I've also been working on a voting form with Lucy. So updating the MBTs and online personnel, global budget also, and invoice tabulation. Thank you.
Thank you, Albino. Jay?
All right. I'm doing okay. I'm like maybe like a 6.2. Today was a pretty hard day. It was like a really long, like 6-hour EXA meeting where I pretty much got unofficially fired, but I haven't been officially final fired yet, but it's not looking good. The week consisted of a lot of budgeting, payroll, and also like the grant. We finished the grant and got the grant in for the Z Collaborator. So hopefully that would be good. But yeah, check.
Thank you. For me, I'm at 6. And I've been working on so many things, all the rankings except contribution rankings, global coaching budget, tabulation, a little bit, invoice, and plasma. Also, the cardboard voting form. Also, we tally the results. Those are what we did so far. Thank you.
Great. All right, so let's go on to the next section, which I believe is attendance and ranking. Okay. So, as far as attendance goes, there's 2 parts. One is at the top here. Prep, Albina, Teresa, desired outcomes, and top. All right, well, that's good. Early on time. Well, I was certainly on time. I was here, no one else was, but we have missing people. So we need to get some more people in. No one was early, which is fine. So can someone, whoever's like note taker, is responsible for getting the rest of the people logged in? So we have Teresa, Arlene, Steve-O. Yeah, okay, good. All right. From there, I mean, technically speaking, we should know people are just doing voice, audio, computer, and how they're participating. But right now, we haven't been doing that much on that. But eventually, this is where that would happen. Also, we'd be reviewing the overall rankings, but we don't have them done or updated, so we're going to skip that. But any questions on attendance or rankings?
No, we have no question as so far the ranking that we do. Maybe the only ranking that is not at time is overall rank.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so we still need to do that, and there's a couple other things that we need to get updated. But anyways, maybe we'll talk about it. Okay, not really doing. All right, so let's go on to the desired outcomes and topics. Lucy? Or
yes.
That's...
Yeah. Okay. Let's move to our desired outcomes. I think we put a few of them, and maybe you can. I will read. The first desired outcome is getting more organized as a team, learning better how to work together as a team, and learn the policy. I think it's almost the same, like the first one. To start making a plan that helps coordinate collective action as a team. To clear and finalize on April-May budget for all options. To initiate the base budget for the whole team for May-June budget. Understand way forward on investors' relations to payment. Those are the so far what we prepare. Desired outcome. If some of us have, if anyone has any other desired outcome, you can just say any other desired outcome apart from what we have. Are you there, guys? Why are you silent?
I think we're good on the desired outcomes. They look good.
Okay. Priority
thank you.
focus of the meeting. Thank you. Priority focus of the meeting.
So a lot of these are internal group team setup work, or except for maybe this one.
Okay.
That's an assistant, virtual assistant. Right? Are there any other topics? I mean, I think that we have to put Teresa on here. Teresa. Oh, also I forgot in the attendance and rankings. Oh God, that's really loud. Is that Elite? No, who's doing that?
Albina, can you move? Thank you.
Oh my goodness, that was interesting. Okay, so another thing that I remember that I forgot to mention, just to mention it now, is that Teresa is in the Jello team. So we could say Teresa is in the Jello team. So technically that would be during Cobalt sessions, which this is not. And but you did help out with the prep, so I'm not super worried about it. And this is Sonic, so it's right afterwards. All right, but I just want to mention that that's the place that comes in.
Mm-hmm.
So typically, Teresa, you wouldn't be involved in the global sessions, but if you want to be here today, we are happy to have you, unless anyone has an objection to that. So the topic, so I do want to add Teresa also to the topic, specifically because she needs help getting more focused on the work. So Teresa's responsibilities. Are there any other topics or questions that anyone has on anything? Maybe mandatory priorities? Also, I think we skipped something else as well. We skipped our evaluations and prioritization.
Jay?
Yeah.
Okay. I just send the prioritization. People vote. Maybe they can go and review.
Jay, I think we can review the mandatory list that we accomplish that task and ready to work the mandatory list. I mean that this mandatory list, pages accomplished and pages not accomplished. So after this session, we can focus this not accomplished task mandatory list.
Did anyone else understand? Abdul?
I think Abdul trying to say we need to check on verification spreadsheet for mandatory priorities. Maybe
Yes, I agree. I added it. So, I mean, this looks like a pretty good list. Do we want to do our global team priorities, or should we just go with this list? I mean, it's pretty similar: budget, mandatory priorities, methods. So maybe we have some time to do some methods. That would be good. But other than that, I mean, I think we're fine.
Yeah.
So we could put other like methods, review, global team. Okay, so we good? Anything else?
Yes.
All right, so a couple other things we could go over would be like Plasmo, taxes, finances and taxes. If we had time.
Okay, can we add the team equity?
What?
Team equity.
Yes, team equity would be great to get through that more. All right. So this looks good. Shall we get started? Let's start with the, are there any objections to the desired outcomes and topics? I guess I do have an objection. We don't have any times on these, so let's try to get some times. Let's do like 10 to 15 minutes. I mean, I think the budgets could definitely be our whole meeting.
Sure.
We'll see what that goes. This should just be like 5 minutes, really. I don't know. Teresa, I would say.
Teresa will be 5 minutes. Eh?
Yep, 5 to 10.
Okay.
And then let's do the mandatory priorities, and then this can go here.
Reviewing monthly goals will be like 15 minutes. 10 to 10 minutes.
I think 10 minutes is fine. All right, cool. So that's like a good start.
Yeah.
All right. So any objections to our priority focus of the meeting and our topics and desired outcomes? All right. So we have agreement. All right. So the first topic is the current budget. This would be the current April-May budget, and it's the 151 degree. I think it's east, month. Any particular questions on this? Where we are? I mean, I guess the quick update on this would be that, the HR board approved the, the top 3 buddy teams in the budget. But this was done like 3 days ago? Something like that, maybe 5 days ago. So basically everyone on 2-week notice has until the end of the month. So the new moon. So basically everything stays the same till the new moon. Does that make sense?
What we want for April-May budget?
That's the current
I think
budget.
we need.
Today is the current budget. April-May is the current budget.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the current budget.
So yeah, we need to know like now. We cannot even do even a payroll. We just approve only two teams. You approve only two members for 2 teams like Auckland, Africa, and Dynamic. We did not go through all the teams to see the budget. It's not approved.
I mean, I would say to go through all that trouble in the last week of the budget is a waste of time. So I would propose that we, skip the team budgets review and focus on next month. That would be my proposal. Because we could spend all this time going through all the budgets for this month, and we probably still wouldn't go through them, and then it would be next month already. I mean, it's only 1 week. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we just yeah.
So does anyone object to skipping the review of all the individual teams? And also, I think the other proposal is basically just Dynamic and Cobalt teams. Like just have only 2 teams for the old world and new world. So that would be another proposal. Because we just don't have the number of people right now, and we're downsizing. So to have 8 octants doesn't really make a lot of sense,
Yes.
Yeah. 5 minutes into the topic.
Proposal of skipping the team budget review and focus on the next month. I agree, but so how can we now go ahead with our payroll?
Well, the payroll's already all done. What needs to be going ahead with the payroll?
No, for this month. This is the
151 degree.
Yeah, for 151.
First 2 weeks and the end month.
All right,
Yeah,
well, let's review real quick. So
yes.
right here we're currently on the full moon payroll, and it hasn't been started yet. So what's your question about the payroll?
We cannot get the right figure because budget is still hanging. We don't know. Budget not approved. We don't know. Like those of Phoenix, which one who are on Jello budget, who are on their budget, how much, like for Zulu, we don't know.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that basically you have the 3 top buddy teams, right? 3 top buddy teams, right?
Mm-hmm.
That are approved. And then this would be the base budget for them for the month, for the 151 month. And then also we approved the top 6 buddy teams at the beginning of the month.
Mm-hmm.
And used those for the top 6 people, right? And then everyone else stays the same as the previous month. So my understanding is that basically, like, you just take the top 6 buddy teams that were approved in the previous proposals. Does anyone want to copy and paste that here for the top 6 buddy teams?
Okay, let me try to if I can find it.
It should be from the previous week, or you can just grab it from the voting form.
Yeah, let me go to page.
Cool. So basically, what that means is that it's just keep everything the same minus anyone who's been removed from the budget and anybody, it's just everything's just the same. There's just like it's just like this is the approved budget from the beginning of the month with the top 6 buddy teams. The top 3 buddy teams is the same, right? And then we gave people 2-week notice, but we didn't actually cut any of those people from the budget, and then everyone else is in the budget. And you can see the actual current status and rankings of everybody here on the hourly HR ranking spreadsheet. So let's add that here too. So this is like hourly HR ranking. And you can see whether people are in good status, whether they have 2 weeks notice, or whether they've been removed from the budget, right? So everybody who has 2 weeks notice is basically on notice for the first, for the new moon. Okay, that makes sense?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're gonna go over each person today when we go into the next category and have understanding of where they are and what's going on. Okay?
Yeah.
Yeah. So were you able to find the budget, or should I grab them?
Yes. How can we copy? I just find it on proposal.
You can just do a screenshot, or you can give it to me. If you just link it, I'll get the screenshot for you.
Okay, let me link there. I will link it, double link.
Yeah, just link it here, and then everyone can see it. They can just you just link it right here.
Okay.
Cool. So this is just the HR board voting proposal. Looks like it's going. Oh, here we go. Yeah. So these were the six buddy team proposals from the beginning of the month. Right here. So are there any questions about that? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it
So
does.
these were all approved at the beginning of the month. And then the bottom 3 were cut afterwards. All right? Does that make sense?
Yeah. Okay.
So are there any other questions? What about the invoice tabulation and the next, I guess that would be in the next month's budget, right? So can we do payroll? Are we able to do payroll at this point or not?
Come up again, Jay.
Are we able to do payroll at this point?
Yeah, now it's clear. Now at least we understand.
Okay, great.
Okay,
But even if it is clear, Baritim, Sifrazu, and Zilu, they need to update their main Baritim. Still having problems on that.
even Mazi and Nasif, they don't put what is there, what like for 8K for 2 of them. They're still using 350. So they need to update. Even Asif, Razu, and Zil.
What do you mean 350?
On Nasif, Iqbal personnel, they're still having 350. They did not update.
Actually, I think we did change this. I think this is the original and then changed it to the new updated version. We should have the link. Like this should be the simple budget link, right?
Yeah. You know, Jay, it's up to them. Like 2 of them, we don't know. Yes, we know it is 481. We did not know how they agree on Mazi how much, Asif Iqbal how much. Likewise to Razu, but Zil tell us this afternoon our time.
Well,
they agree on their price, but we still don't know for Asif.
Well, but we know.
Iqbal and
But we know the requested, right? So if the requested is, you know, right? If we take up 100, so the requested, let's just use Asif, Razu, and Zilu. Here we got 301. We know we subtracted like $100, so the requested would be let's just say 400, right? If Zilu requested 300 and Razu requested 100, then you just divide it proportionally. Does that make sense? So this would be 75%, and this would be 25%. So just do it based on proportion, unless they want to do it some other way. Okay.
Yeah.
But what I have here is that in a simple initial budget that we approved, that it's actually a little bit different, that we actually approved it only existing team. Oh, it is 301. 301, 437. Oh no, did someone, why isn't it? Huh. So it'd be 420 minus 95. Let's see if that works out. 325. So I thought we were going to do the 420 minus the percentage of each one, which would be, this would be 325. So this is what I remember being agreed upon.
Jay, no, we agreed upon, this is about the percentage, right?
Uh-huh.
This is, yeah, but we agreed upon that we will not use the percentage. We use the one that we did before, the minus 119.
After minus,
yes.
that's the one. Yeah,
Did we have
We
consensus
did not
on that?
agree on percentage.
Yeah, we
yeah.
did not
We
agree.
did. We just agreed deducting 190.
But did we have consensus on that?
Yes.
Yeah, we did.
During the when was it?
Okay. So anyway, so we can address that more later, but is there any other questions about it?
I think no
that
more
was
question
the
on
one
it.
question.
We just wanted some clarity on it, and we understand it now.
Yeah, it's okay now.
Cool. So I mean, I personally feel like someone who's getting less money shouldn't have it cut as much. So I'm not particularly happy with that decision, but we can address it more later. Let's just get the payroll moving forward. Are there any other questions on that? And this shows you how important it is to have a clear budget, which right now we don't really have. But we're making progress on our budget. So are we good?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. So any other questions on the current budget?
Jay, what if Zilo and Razo agreed that they remain as their proposal before, like Zilo is 250 and Razo is 170. So it's totaling 420 still, not following the how much was it? 300 simple budget.
So my understanding is that their requested budget is 420 and their lowest is 0. So
Yes.
the only thing that you have to check here is that when you go to Razu, it says $170 for 13 hours a week, right?
Mhm.
The question is,
Yeah.
how many hours is he willing to work for $0? Because it says here that their lowest is 0, and then you would proportionally change the number of hours, which would affect the total rate and the back pay and everything. Does that make sense? So if instead of getting 170, right, if he's getting 100,
That is not right. They agree. Razu will be 110, 110.5, and Zulu will be 190.5.
That's the final.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so,
what they just deducting with 50% on each.
Yeah.
They divide
dividing-
119 each.
yeah, that's fine. So
Well,
however
okay.
however they
Well,
want to
okay.
however they want to do that is perfectly fine. But then you have to take this number, the 110, and you have to so it's 170 for 13 hours. The question is it 110 for 13 hours? And I would assume that it's
They-
not.
The hours, no. Even Razu is saying are going to discuss on hours because I was following up to ask them how
No,
far
there's
on
no
that, but
there's no discussion involved. It's all based on what the proposal is. So if you look here, if you look at Zilu, he says basically $0 for 7 hours, whereas it's 20 hours for 250, right? Does that make sense?
yeah.
So what you would do is you would say 20 divided by 7 times, oh my goodness. We can figure this out. So the Zilu's 190. You would do 190 divided by 250. So that would be 76%. And so it'd be 76% times
20.
well, it's 20 between 20 and 7, so it'd be 20 minus 7 is 13. So it'd be 13. So it'd be like 75% times 13, and so that'd be 9 or 10 hours. So it'd be plus 7 would be about 16.75 hours. So the idea is that instead of 20 hours, it'd be 16.75 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So anyways, you have to just calculate quickly the proportion. For Zilu, it would be for Sifrazu, he's 14 hours, right, for his requested, I think I'm on the wrong one. I think it's this one here. Yeah, so he's 13 hours for his requested, and then he's 5 hours for his lowest. So if you do 110 instead of 170, 110 divided by 170 is 64%. So that would be multiplied by 13 minus 5 is 13 minus 5 is 8, right? 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, so that would be multiplied by 8. Which is a 5 hours. So 5 hours plus 5 hours is 10. All right, so it's going to be 10 point blah 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 10.1 or whatever. It'll be 10.1 hours, right? So that makes sense. It's basic. So that changes the proportion of his hourly rate to his total, so that his back pay will go up, and it'll all balance out on his total equity and his value. Does that make sense? Oh no, you guys lost me.
Fire.
Okay, I'm back.
Good. I now confirm this is green.
13.
Okay, I'm back.
Oh, sorry.
Okay.
No, fine. Does that make sense, what I explained about the ratio?
Yes.
Yeah,
So-
it's so fine. And
Yeah. So usually what happens is we change the ratio based on just the exact 50%. But if you change it by something other than 50%, you just have to figure out what you changed it by and then multiply it by the number of hours, and then that will equal your hours. Okay?
Yeah.
okay.
And then what that does is it equalizes everything so that the hourly rate and the equity and the value tracking and all of it, tokenization, all works out correctly. Okay?
Okay.
Julio, awesome. All right, any other questions on the current budget? And-
Yes. What about now? Those 3 team budget that they cut. Are we still including them on this payroll, right? Like
So
Jorge.
the only people, yes, anybody, Jorge probably didn't work too much, but Steve worked considerably, as well as Miguel. They worked a lot on payroll and other things because they were allowed to work on anything that was still involving them because they hadn't been paid, plus the HR board vote and everything. So they would continue to get paid. Additionally, yeah, I mean, basically anyone who worked during the time still gets paid. Okay, does that make sense?
Okay.
But it should be a lot less than they were
Yes,
getting
for
paid
how
before.
much amount? The same amount?
Yeah, everything's the same. So if the HR board did not approve their new proposal, their proposal
Okay.
stays the same as the previous month.
Thank you.
Yes. Make sure that's in the notes. So so anyone where their proposal was not approved, their budget stays same as the previous. All right, cool. Someone else wrote that too. All right, awesome. Okay, so other questions about the
Can I ask a question, Jay?
Yeah.
Sorry.
No.
I was wondering, because I think you told already, we explained already, but I can't remember. For the budget, to change the budget or update, there is a specific date, because I know that every month, but should we do like, there is some specific date for that?
does anyone else want to answer? Do you guys want me to answer?
Sorry?
Does anyone else want to answer, or do you guys want me to answer? Okay, well,
For
I'll
me, I didn't
answer.
even get her. Can you come again, Teresa?
Okay, so the question was about the date for changing your budget. So each individual can change their budget. If you're going to change your budget, you need to do so. You can do so at any time. So you can do it right now. You could do it later today. You could do it tomorrow, the next day, anytime. You can always change your budget. It does need to be approved by your main buddy. And then it would go in the budget proposal, but it needs to be done before the full moon. The full moon is the deadline. You can change it at any time, but the cutoff time is the full moon. Once the full moon comes around, any changes that are made take effect not at the next new moon, but the new moon after that. It's 6 weeks later. And we leapfrog between each full moon and new moon, get leapfrogged to the next budget so that the organization has enough time to finalize its budget. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. Any other questions about the existing budget? And yeah, I think that's it on my side.
Lucy, I think Razu will be 8 hours, 8.3.
8 hours.
8 hours. Yeah.
8?
8 hours, 8.32.
Just
Put
point
8 hours.
32. Okay.
Or just 8.5 or 8. 8.25. 8.25.
Are you sure?
Okay.
Are you sure it's 8.25?
It is 8.23.
8.32. 8.32.
So like for a CFRA as 13 hours, right? If you do 110 divided by 170, that would be 64%. If you do 64% of
64.7.
Yeah, 64%. If you do that of 13 hours, you get what you're talking about, the 8.5 hours. That makes sense?
Yeah.
But the problem is that it's not of 13 hours. It's of 5 hours. Does that make sense? So he's willing to work between 5 hours and 13 hours. So if you take 13 hours minus 5 hours, it's actually the 8 hours is the total, not 13. So the difference of 8 hours, 0.64% of 8 hours is actually only at 5 hours. So it should be, I guess you'd actually do the inverse of that, right? It would be the inverse of that. So it would be the 13 minus, I don't know, I think that's right. 64% of 13 is 5 hours. So yeah, this would be the total. So it would be, the easier way to look at it is you do like 100 minus 64%. So it's a 36% reduction in hours. So if you do a 36% of 8 hours, it's a 2.88 hour reduction. So it's 13 minus 2.88. So it's actually 10 hours, 0.12. Does that make sense? Because it's not 0 hours. It's actually 5 hours is the lowest.
Okay.
Right? So it's between 5 hours and 13 hours. So it's only a 36% reduction of that difference, which is 8 hours. Okay, I'll write it down here. So it's a 36% reduction of 8 hours, which is the difference between 13 and 5 hours. Does that make sense?
Yeah, Jay, can you share your screen, please?
Oh, I've got to reset. Hold on a segundo. Cool. So I added that to the main buddy team doc, but I'll put it in our notes as well.
Okay. Okay.
So it's a third. So if you do 0.64%, and this is 110 divided by 170 is equal to 64%. So it's the inverse of that, which is a 36% reduction of the 8 hours between 13 and 5 hours. So 13 hours is the requested, 5 hours is the lowest, and so the difference is 8 hours. So the maximum number of hours that can be deducted would be 8. not 13. So it's a 36% reduction of 8 hours, which is equal to 2.88 hours, which is the total hours is equal to 10.12. Okay?
Yeah.
So just it's a slightly complicated thing, but you can make it automatic. So it just automatically calculates it for you. If you want me to set that up for you, it's pretty simple. So just let me know if you want me to do. I can do the formula for you if you want me to do the formula.
Yes, you can do the formula.
You want me to do the formula? So if you had here, you have the total, which is 170, and then you have the new one. Let's do the new one. So 110.50, and then you have 170, and then the hours would be 13 hours and then 7 hours. Does that make sense? So here you have the new money, the requested, and then this is the requested, and this is the lowest, right?
Yes.
So the calculation here would just be.
Is it lowest 5 hours or 7?
For 7 hours.
7 hours is the lowest.
7 hours on the ability is lowest 7 hours.
Okay.
Yeah, there should be a difference of 8. No, it's 6 hours. Is it 7? Let's see. No, it's 5. Yeah, you're right. It's 5. So that's 5. So then you have a difference of 8 hours. So if you just take this, it would be the inverse of this. You do 1 minus the requested, and then you'd multiply that times the 8 hours, which gives you the difference in hours, right? And then you could just take this and you do the original number of hours minus the inversed hours, which would give you the 10.2. So I could get it even more complicated for you if you wanted me to do it even higher level, but that gets you pretty close to, if that's enough for you. Is that good enough, or do you want me to do more?
Yeah, no. Yeah,
It's okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right. So, and just let me know if you have any questions. And again, it doesn't need to be exact. It's just, have it reasonably estimated.
Yeah.
All right. And again, overall, we just want to get through this month. I mean, this month has been a difficult month. We've been dealing with the budget crisis and all the problems. So it's just like, yeah, let's just focus on next month and try to get our budgets all organized for next month.
Wow. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. So anything else on this month's budget? The only other question I have is basically invoice tabulation. Again, I'm proposing that we reduce the invoices to just 2, umbrella teams. We would have Dynamic and Cobalt, and everything else would be sub-teams of Dynamic.
Yes, I just vote a big yes on that.
You vote a big yes? Albina's a big yes. So this would help simplify everything because we just don't have as many people as we used to have. So all the other teams are just not as necessary, and our budget is shrinking. So once our budget grows again, we'll add the other teams and we can expand. But for now, we need to contract and we just simplify with having less teams. So I don't know if we just want to finalize this vote.
Yes, for 8.
Yes.
9. I'm just 9.
Albina's a 9. Okay, Aline, you want to vote? And Teresa?
I will abstain. I'm not sure what is the reduced invoices.
Okay, well the Jello. So
I understand you.
Okay, well there's two proposals here. One is just for the budget. So the idea is to reduce the number of budgets, but this would also reduce budgets just for Dynamic and Cobalt teams. But it would also reduce the invoices. And so Teresa, you're part of the Jello team, which is within Cobalt already, right? So you don't really notice any difference. Whereas other people, they were part of, for example, the Fulcrum team or the Phoenix team or a bunch of other teams. And so the idea is that all the teams would basically be combined into just Dynamic or Cobalt. So there'd only be 2 main sessions for the world. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. So it doesn't necessarily get rid of the Fulcrum team, and it doesn't get rid of the Phoenix team, but it's just saying that they don't really need main sessions because they only have like 1 member or 2 members. This is not enough people. Okay.
Okay.
Aline, would you like to vote? Do you want to unmute, Aline?
My vote is 7.
Abdul's a 7. Yes. Lucy's a
Yes.
was that Steve? Oh no. Who voted?
Yes.
Steve O votes yes.
Number, which number are you in, Steve?
7.
Joyce and Teresa's gonna
Aline.
abstain, right? Teresa, you're gonna abstain.
Yeah,
Abstain 5.
That's a 5. Aline and Joyce are the only
Yes.
people. Aline's a yes.
Yes, for me.
Okay, and then Joyce. Joyce, I think you're muted. Maybe Joyce.
Aline, yes, which number?
Sorry, I thought I was talking. Yeah, 7.5. I
Okay.
was muted. I did not know.
Okay, cool. All right, sweet. So that passes passes basically by consensus because there was no objections. So let's so anyway, so the question here is where are we with the tabulation? So this would be the invoice tabulation and preparing team budgets for next month. And then we're going to go on to our next month's budget.
Yeah.
I think there is another proposal. Albina say yes there. Proposal just Dynamic and Cobalt. Have only 2. We did not vote for that, Jay.
That's what we did.
Yeah, so the idea is that you would reduce all of the invoices and budgets. You just have 2 budgets and 2 invoices for the world. Does that make sense?
Yeah, to me it makes sense.
Lucy, did you have a question about it?
Yes, it makes sense. Is that including on this proposal? Just Dynamic and Cobalt teams have only 2 teams for the old world and new world.
Yeah.
Yes and no. It would basically be like it would basically be kind of like Cobalt team is multiple teams. Cobalt team includes the Jello team, it includes the Quantum team, it includes the Cobalt team, it's the East Pacific, it also includes like the Americas, and it spreads into Sonic a little bit and Hydra a little bit, right? So it's
and
like,
also recruitment, right?
And the maybe, and then the Dynamic team is its own sort of thing, right? So Dynamic could include a little bit of Zuri, it could include a little bit of Fulcrum and Phoenix, right? So but the idea is like, let's just do 1 invoice for the whole old world, right? It's like an old world invoice and a new world invoice, okay?
Yes. And we have that proposal. I think we need to vote it on. So that I think we'll have only 2 main budget team sessions.
No.
We usually have many sessions.
No, this wouldn't affect the buddy team sessions. Like we would keep all the buddy team sessions the same. It would only affect main sessions.
Main, yeah. This is what I'm talking about. Main sessions.
So this only affects main sessions. So you don't really need to have a main session with 1 or 2 people. It's just not necessary. Like Sonic, no one shows up for Sonic anymore. It doesn't really exist, but it's fine to keep the Sonic work sessions. And also the main sessions could also be work sessions. So we don't necessarily need to get rid of them, but the idea is we don't need 8 budgets right now. We only need 2 budgets. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's the same thing we do on our on our global budgets. There's just the 2. There's the old world and the new world. So that's kind of how we do the budgets anyways. But let's see if we can break it down a little bit. But I do think we still need to break down the invoices based on like the Jello team and the recruitment team and Quantum, but we'll just do it all part of one umbrella, okay? which would be the new work.
Yeah.
And the same would be with the dynamic. So it's not really, we're not really saying it's a dynamic budget. It's more like an old world budget and a new world budget, and an old world invoice and a new world invoice.
Understood, Jay.
Okay, cool. All right. So anyhow, where is the current status of the invoice tabulation?
Jay, can I update for 10 minutes, 5 minutes?
Yes, and you can.
Okay.
I think it was okay.
We don't have anything Joyce on tabulation. I think we worked with you also. Just put whatever is
There is
there.
something more. There's something more.
What was that more after we did? Let me pull up the tabulation.
Just put there. You want to like.
Yeah.
We are at the top of the first hour. Can we even get a break of?
Sure. Why don't we take a break while you guys are getting the invoice tabulation together, and then we can
Yes.
do that when we get back for
Invoice
5 minutes, and then we'll go on
Yeah.
to next month's budget. I'm down to.
Yes, 5 minutes. 5
Yeah.
minutes, Joyce. So we'll do fast
Okay.
on it.
180 degree, right? 18 degrees.
No. Oh yeah, 18 degrees. Yes, that's correct. 'Cause it's
18 degrees.
it was the previous month's invoice.
Yes.
Guys, we are on a break. 5 minute break. We'll be back at exactly after 5 minutes.
Just copy pasting this one.
What's the tabulation that you are looking for?
Tabulation, I'm just linking there. You will just open. Give me a second. Almost linking there. I link it there, Teresa. You can open.
Is this one 18 invoice tabulation spreadsheet?
Yes.
Okay. But why 18? 18 means waiting week.
This month.
Is 1 week of this month? Let me check.
The call of the month, last month.
Last month. Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Hi, Lucy.
Hello. You guys back? Do we have the link to the invoice tablet? Oh yeah, here it is.
Oh, yes, I'm back.
So here we go. Maximum amount, total hours worked, total cost of the hours, oh, I see. Huh. I mean, it's not really lost. I get. Oh, I see what you're saying. Like lost. Game. So, so this would be the total amount that we would have brought in for the month. So we're getting a little bit better here. This is looking better. So basically, what you have is $3,000, and if we did $2,000 of work, that would be, we're at 65%. So we did, according to this, we did a little over half of the client work. That make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then if we could also consider, you know, I still haven't, I know it's at least 2.6, but let's say we did 3x, right? This would be 500, 500. This would be 3.
Is that correct, Jay? It's over the, should be maximum only 500, right?
Yep, that is exactly correct. So if we did 3x, it would just bring us up a tiny little bit. So it'd be 67% instead of 65. So we shouldn't be too worried about the 3x. The 3x might make more sense. I don't know. We have to see how that goes. But anyway, so that looks pretty good. Looking pretty good. So then you have internal business operations, you've got your client work budget, and so this breaks down how much money we actually have for the work budgets for the clients and the internal operations budgets. Does anyone have any questions about this? Like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for, and this is exactly what we want in relationship to the work that we're doing. And this is just a rough breakdown at half, like 50-50. I think this 50-50 breakdown works better with the 2.66x. Any other questions on the invoice tabulation?
No question from my side.
Cool. And so these numbers over here, the actual amount of money coming in, could change. But I think overall we're good. So let's review those for this month. Do you guys remember for this month what it is?
Which one, Jay?
So the current month is the 151 degree. So I would say we've got, let's get the full amount here. So we know that Saturn and Ceres session doesn't exist. J support, I think, will continue. And so what we end up here is $2,500, right? 1,000,
Jay?
2,000, yeah.
It just, I just have to change the documentations and client, documentations and website to the prorating, because the quantum was added, so I have to do the prorating because it went over the calculation, the 3x calculation.
Which one went over? The quantum what?
The one for quantum, they were added in the website marketing category. So, and
okay, but that would just affect over here for the internal business operations.
Yes. I just want to change to the prorating amount.
Okay. Do you have a question about it? That's fine with me.
Yes.
Do you have a question about it?
It went over the no question. I just want to change now.
Great. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So the goal here is to distribute to everyone the total value for each team. Okay. And quantum team, this would include like quantum, et cetera, right? As well as like fulcrum and whatever. But remember, we're doing an overall 2 new world and old world budgets. Okay, that makes sense?
And also something on J support, people need to do the real work, not just dwelling on your work report and they are just billing J support. I think you explain on us on what is supposed to be done on J support.
Yeah,
so
well,
not
the first thing on J support is if you don't contact me, you're not supporting me, and don't do any work for me. Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
If you don't talk to me, I don't want to hear anything about it. It's like if you don't actually communicate with me, then you're not working with me, and just stop.
Yes. Yeah. So those billing.
Then where is this J support work coming from?
People are just billing a lot of funds there, and we don't even see the support.
Yeah. So
not even communication on Skype.
Yeah, you do need to talk to me. You know, it's very important to talk. So anyways, if someone isn't communicating about what they're doing, it doesn't really count. You know. So I would agree with you, Albina. But either way, the Jello support I think is going away as well, because it's like there's not really any Jello support to be done, really. It doesn't really make any sense. So that would get cut. So my understanding is that we might have as little as 2,000. But then in addition to this, we also have the recruitment commission. So question mark, you know, I think we said $500 to $1,000. Let's just say $750 for now, right? Is for recruitment commission. Maybe we should just make it 500 though. I mean, that seems like a lot. All right, so that's the recruitment commission. And then we have, and this might change. I mean, the recruitment commission is not really doing much. So we do have a proposal, you know, to like, I don't know, end the recruitment commission. I don't know what we want to do with that. It's very odd, the whole thing. So then from there, that's 2,000. So this would be for this month, as far as I remember. I don't know. We have to double check what we had. And then the other one is there's also a bonus for $1,000 for grants. And this is just for basically Mel and like the Stanford grant. Okay. So these are basically like separate bonus budgets. And this month also had recruitment budgets going on, but we're basically ending the recruitment budgets. Is everyone on the same page on this, on these budgets and how they work?
Yeah.
And this would be the general, and this is just for recruitment commission. This is just for the grants team. Okay. So the most important thing right now we have going for us is the grants team, and we're trying to bring in funding, and we need funding. So hopefully our grants team will work it out for us and bring in some money. And we're working on a couple more grants too. So that's the 151-degree move. Any other questions on the invoice tabulation for either this month or next month? Okay, so I feel like overall our invoice tabulation went reasonable. We have $2,000 in the bank, that of money that we brought in, that we can now budget, what should equal about the amount that we're expecting for the next month. And if we get all the work done, then we're in good shape. That sound good?
Yes.
And that gives us a general overall number. Okay. Any other questions on the invoice tabulation before we move on? Okay, well, let's move on then. So next month's budget, the May-June budget. So the first thing I want to note here is that we need to do main buddy team and online personnel profiles verification correctly. And basically, hard stop anyone who doesn't have one. One example would be Kenyat. Kenyat is not acceptable, not in the budget at all, right? So
Is it Kainet? Okay, Kainet.
yeah, Kainet.
Yeah.
So one thing of Kainet, this would be a problem. So Kainet is no main buddy team approved in budget. So that would be one example. So anyway, so that needs to happen. Are there any questions about the verification for the main buddy team and the online personnel profiles? I went through it.
No question on that. I'll update it.
Yeah, Albina knows the details.
Yes.
Okay, make sure you're training other people. Okay,
I will.
The next
I
thing,
also know how to do that and help.
great. Okay, so then the next thing would be our overall budget. I think it's going to look more or less the same, unless anyone can think of any differences. We have the recruitment commission. I do have this proposal to end the recruitment commission. I mean, I'm still just not sure what the recruitment commission is doing. What do you guys think about the recruitment commission? Because the recruitment commission just hasn't done anything, I mean, I just don't know.
For me, I don't really understand what they're doing really every time in that. I don't know really.
So
For me, I
anyways,
feel like
I would
nothing
potentially propose cutting the recruitment commission. If we did this, we would add the funds to internal business ops, and have more funds. Maybe add in fellow support or something. Right.
So what will happen to Mazi and Isika?
We would
And
bring
also
them-
Asif, maybe. Asif.
we would just add people to the regular budget if they can.
Yeah, better.
So I mean, the idea is that we would all be working until we can get a new recruitment commission. The idea is that we would all be working on recruitment. So instead of hiring a recruitment commission who does nothing for us, we would just do it ourselves, right? So a couple other things. Jessica, Kenyat. Okay, so let me just go over a couple things here. So we have, so this is one proposal. This is another overall budget. Then the other thing is that we want to expand roles of Jello members who are Jello/recruitment members who are highest ranked. So this includes Jessica, right? So we finally got our rankings updated. It's been so long, and it's just very nice. Issues with language and work. So Kinyat, I just don't see Kinyat doing a lot. I think there's some issues there. Nilabra, same thing. But she did get her communication going.
Mamoon also. Mamoon
What about Mamoon?
doesn't also understand much. Maybe the language also.
For me, it's just Jessica and Rachel, and Kinyat and Nilabra.
And Rachel is no longer working with us, Jay.
Who?
Rachel is out.
Yes, I understand that. But what I'm saying is that Jessica, Kinyat, Nilabra, and Rachel are all ranked above Asif Razu, who is the previously highest ranked person, right? So
Yeah.
Kinyat, and so no one else is in that category. It's just these 4 people, okay? And so these people, basically, we would want to expand their roles and elevate their roles. So the problem with Kinyat and Nilabra is that they're just not very involved. Like, if they were more involved and they could take on responsibilities, we would empower them to be higher ranked and more involved in the global roles. Jessica and Rachel, we would offer her a full global position if she wants to come back at her current rate. Okay? Jessica, expand her position to a global role, or at least like Sonic. I mean, we don't have to go full global. We could add Sonic or something like that. I don't know, whatever people felt. But that would be my proposal. So proposal, expand and invite Jessica and Rachel to get more involved. And then the other proposal is to end the recruitment commission and then bring people all into the global team again. So what do you guys
What happened with Mazi, because he's also on recruitment commission? Asif also Iqbal.
Okay, so both
Asif and Mazi.
Both Mazi and Asif Iqbal are on 2-week notice.
Okay.
So their role wouldn't change per se, except in the context that we need to figure out them in the budget, which is going to be our next. So we're going to go over 2-week notices next. Okay, so we're going to cover that next.
Okay.
And then the changes in the Jello team is what we're talking about now.
Yeah.
So this would be changes in Jello team. So the idea is, so here we have recruitment, end recruitment commission, because they're not doing anything. And I mean, everybody who was in the recruitment commission can continue to work on recruitment, but we would just make it part of our existing workflow, and that everyone's working on recruitment because they're just not doing anything,
Yeah.
And so we need to obviously train them and do a new round of recruitment commission and get the recruitment commission set up in the future. But anyways, I would just say at least for the next month to end it, maybe this could just be, for 1 month. I would probably be like, 6.7 on it. And then this one, to expand Jessica and Rachel's roles. I mean, we finally did the HR ranking, and it's just like, they're so highly ranked. I mean, we have to support them. And so I would be like an 8.5 on this. And I would love to increase Kinyat and Nilabra, but they're just not really doing anything, right? Don't have responsibilities, not doing anything, as far as I know. So we would want to keep them more organized. Maybe they could do a little with dynamic or something. I don't know, like dynamic main sessions. I just don't know. Anyway, so do we want to vote on these, or what do you guys want to do? Or you guys want to move on to the next proposal and then do them all at the same time?
Yeah.
So we go on to 2 week. Do you guys want to move on to the next proposal?
Yeah.
Okay. So the rest of the budget is, so we know the top 3, it's main buddy team Asif, Razu, Zilu, main buddy team Albina, Sivo, main buddy team Lucy and Joseph are approved, right? So those ones would be automatically approved for the next month. So we would automatically approve top 3 buddy teams, or top 3 existing buddy teams for next month, right? Then we would want to create a budget that includes Jello team, recruitment commission, quantum team, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Anything missing there? I think it's all there, right? So the question is, who can we add? So if this is, what was this, like $1,500? That would leave us, leaves us, you know, $500 to $1,000 left in the budget, right? Is that right?
Yeah. 3x.
The person who I'm most concerned with would be you, Abdul, because jurisdictionally you are the next lowest person. So Jorge's basically been removed already. So Abdul would be the next lowest person. Yeah. So I mean, there's nothing really we can do too much about that, but we'll have to figure that out.
Jay?
Yeah.
I have a question.
Yeah.
In the HR ranking, Eileen, Shigemi, and me are 2 weeks notice. Okay.
Yes, definitely. So
yes,
so
yes.
in the
But
old budget,
but if you see the hourly rate, Eileen is lower than what you call this, than Joseph, and then Shigemi also is lower.
Yeah, so the biggest problem with your proposal is that Joyce, Aline, Abdul, and Shigemi are all connected together. So it's really over $1,000, right, to cover those 4 people. And then if you look in the ranking, you have Aline, right, and Shigemi and Joyce. You guys are ranked all very, very high, and the probability of getting approved in the budget is very high, but what makes it difficult is Abdul with the jurisdictional ranking especially.
Yeah.
So in that context, it's just your guys' buddy team's just too big. It's just too much and too big. The other problem with it is that at $550 with you and Aline, you guys have no wiggle room, right? It can't go any lower than that in terms of fitting us into a very, very tight, you know, between, what's our budget like right now? Our budget looks like, so we're basically between a $2,000 and $3,000 budget, right? $2,000 to $3,000 budget. That's our budget, right? So I don't know exactly how we're going to fit in that. It might be going down again, but we can basically know that for at least 1 more month, we could do $2,000 to $3,000, and that includes some of the quantum team and the recruitment commission. It includes the Jello team. Okay, so you know, there needs to be some wiggle room here so that we are able to do it. So the bottom line is the only reason that you guys are on 2-week notice is, especially with you, Joyce, since you are such a leader in the organization, is simply because your main buddy team proposal doesn't fit. Like you need a
Budget?
new main buddy
Yeah.
team proposal.
Yes, we already have a new body team proposal, main body team proposal.
Great. So
Right.
you're
Yeah.
welcome to link it. Otherwise, we'll just
Yes.
talk about
Yes,
it
I will link it.
on. We can talk about it at the new moon, right? But it would be good to have
Okay.
everything all set up in the budget before the new moon so that it's all clear.
Okay.
Ideally, our budget would get approved many weeks before the new moon, right? So we would have it all pre-approved and knowing what's going on. That would be the ideal. So the
Yeah.
old one was Eileen, Abdul, Joyce, and Shigimi, right? So the new one would be something different. So some of these, some buddy team proposals will have to go to the HR board. We already have 2 new buddy team proposals from.
But why are we including Shigemi, and even Shigemi, the whole of this month she's not even appearing once?
Because she's in there. I mean, it's like, you know, if whoever buddy teams with Shigemi, it's like we have to consider whether or not we have them. So she's in the budget for now, but you know, whether she's in the budget next month is up for debate. Does that make sense?
Okay.
In future, by the way, we need to be just removing people who are inactive. Like the last time, we were including James for almost 6 good months. James is not showing up.
Even
So good someone to communicate if you are going to work with us or not.
Yeah, but again, it's like you can protect your buddy. Let's consider like you know, Joseph. Joseph is not particularly involved, but we have main buddy teams Joseph and Albina, right?
and Lucy.
No, Joseph.
But Joseph
and Lucy.
is involved. We cannot even compare Joseph and Shigemi.
Yes,
Joseph
of course.
involved.
Of course. Okay. So, but anyways, the point is that let's say Joseph wasn't particularly involved. We don't want to get rid of Lucy. So Lucy, if you're buddy team with Joseph, it's kind of like a free ride. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like the same thing would be Aline and Joyce. If Aline and Joyce were their own buddy team separate from Abdul and Shigemi, then, you know, I mean, Joyce does a lot more work than Aline, but it's like we have to take both of them. The whole way it works is that the main buddy teams, you either get the whole package or you get nothing. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we'll get better at figuring out. Okay, let's check out main buddy team Joyce and Aline main doc. Let's take a quick look. And it's not a main doc. It's just a buddy team doc. Main buddy team. Okay. Perfect. Ooh, look at that. It's our first like actual table. This is big time. So I would actually reverse these so that the most recent one is at the bottom. You can also see how they're going forward in time ahead of schedule. You don't have to wait every month. You can actually pre-plan. Like they could even go forward 5, 6 more months and pre-plan what they want in the future. Perfectly fine. So again, you see here the 550, and the 550 is, you know, it still doesn't give a lot of wiggle room, but they're saying they're going down to 500 for the main June budget. So this would be double checked to see if that's verified from the full moon, but other than that, that's fine. But again, it's just it doesn't give any wiggle room compared to the lowest and the requested. But they can do that all they want to, and it does reduce it by $50, which is very, very helpful. Okay, so are there any questions about main buddy team Joyce and Eileen?
Yes, Jay. I think they should also reduce at least a reasonable amount so that if we can vote for them, it's a reasonable. Like for them, they did not reduce the money since we begin reducing our money since we have a problem of the budget up to now. They should at least propose something that when we vote for a reasonable amount.
Yeah, but they're
maybe
saying that
400 is also good.
they're saying that they're reducing down $50, right? So that is a reduction, and we can see here. We can look at Joyce's budget. If we go to May, June, it's $270, and Aline is $230. So I mean, overall, these are very small amounts, right? Already, but bottom line, it's like you just need to understand that it's their choice. It's not our choice. They get to decide what their budget is. We decide whether it fits. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it is their choice, but Jay, you know, last month we had.
I know. Last month, can you guys, did I disappear again?
Cut off again.
I'm back.
Oh, yeah, he's there, back.
I'm back. But what I'm trying to say is that, I mean, if they don't want to work for any less than $500 a month, that's perfectly fine. That's their right to decide that. So, you know, when you're willing to work for $300 and you're willing to go less than the $500 and they aren't, then they get cut from the budget first. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So it just makes it less flexible, but it's their right to do that, and that's perfectly fine. The only thing we want to double check is that we want to verify that this was done by the full moon. Okay, that makes sense? But it's very organized, it's very professional, very good. But the key thing is that they are no longer buddy teamed with Abdul and Shagimi. Abdul and Shagimi are separate buddy team, right?
Yes.
So
Abdul, to tell us, Abdul, do you have a budget with Shigemi? Did you update?
Yes, I have a budget team and we already updated our budget teams. I link in Discord. Please.
Question, Jay.
Yeah.
What happened if they did these after full moon?
then
For example, which I'm very sure Joyce did that after full moon. What happened?
then they would have to propose it to the HR board.
Okay.
Right? So if it's like, if the only way we can fit them in the budget is with the $500 instead of the $550, right? And they don't fit in with the $550, then it has to go to the HR board. Otherwise, they get cut from the budget. Okay?
Yeah, who will do the verification?
Yeah. So
Jay, remember last quarter, Moon, you told us that we must change our budget. That is the last time that we will change it.
well, no, you can change your budget whenever you want, but the deadline's still the full moon, and then it takes effect 6 weeks later. Otherwise, it goes to the HR board. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So just update it based on the full moon from 6 weeks ago. It would be 5 weeks ago. Full moon is the current proposals that everyone can do. So everyone's proposals have to be finalized 6 weeks before we as an organization finalize our budget. Okay? And if you don't fit in the budget based on that proposal, your only other option is a HR board proposal to get what's called a bridge to get you to the next month's budget where you have a different budget. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, but overall,
And what if the HR does not approve? Then they will automatically be out of the budget.
for 1 month, right? And then if they can get back in the budget in a month based on their new budget proposal, then they could get re-added.
Okay.
Because people can always change their budget proposals, but obviously we're going to try to be as organized and supportive as possible. So a couple things you have here is you see that Steve's requesting $500. All right, and this is for him and Evelyn. Right, they're not in a great position. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen, but maybe we'll do like something on top of our $2,000 or $3,000 and try to help Steve so that he doesn't go homeless or something. I don't know. I mean, we just have to do our best to help each person because everybody's in need, Miguel also is really would love to continue to work. The primary difference is that he's doing $400 for 10 hours, whereas Steve, Steve's going to work his ass off for as long as you could possibly imagine, probably more than 20 hours for $500. So you can see the differentiation in these proposals. But basically what that means is buddy team Steve, Jorge, and Miguel is no longer existing, right? So they broke up their buddy team. Now they have two separate buddy team proposals. that are much more reasonable to consider with the budget. Okay.
So who is Evelyn and who is the other person?
Even I don't understand them.
Evelyn is the wife of Steve.
Yeah, so that's Steve's
So are
wife.
they in the budget? No. Are they in the budget?
No, that's their new proposal for the budget, and it most likely
Okay, they
would,
just find any person, then they just make a
Exactly.
a buddy team.
yes. So anyone can choose anybody in the world to make a buddy team with.
Okay.
There's no limit to who can be in your main buddy team proposal, and anyone can propose to be in the budget. The question is what fits in the budget. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah.
So what fits in the budget is a very, very different question. And you can see that this new person that we've never met, Luis, Luis is just, basically, practically volunteering. I mean, they just put a few hours in and they just, a couple bucks just to help me out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, which is perfectly fine. All right, so are we ready to, and look, Evelyn here is just working for community equity. Do you see that?
I have question.
Yeah.
Because this thing like budgeting is going to bring us like we are on a hard stop. Why don't people be like transparent if they did not make their proposal before full moon so that they can make their proposal to HR board in advance so that we cannot be in a convenience whereby we are on a hard stop because the budget is not okay.
So the probability of us going on a hard stop is very low because as far as I'm concerned, as I mentioned here, right, the overall budget for the May-June budget would be this $2,000 to $3,000 budget, and it would the foundational base to that would be our current top 3 buddy teams, right? So the idea is that the top 3 buddy teams, let me just add this here, the top 3 buddy teams become the base budget, right? So we just approved that a few days ago, right? Approved, what, 3 to 5 days ago by the HR board. So the idea is that these top 3 buddy teams would be our budget, right? That's basically the proposal. Like the proposal is that, that the HR board approved budget is our base budget. Does that make sense? So no hard stop.
Yes, yeah.
And then the only question that remains is not whether or not we have a budget, because we already have a budget. The question is who are we going to add into the extra money? So we have a, we have, oh my God, why am I messing this all up? I thought I had all this. Where was it? Boy. Anyways, let's just redo it. So according to this, if we have $2,000 to $3,000 and we spent $1,500 to $1,700 on the top 3 buddy teams, right? The only question is who gets the additional $500 to $1,500. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically everybody who's in the top 3 buddy teams, Asif, Razu, Zilu, Albina, Stevo, Lucy, Joseph, I'm proposing that you're all automatically in the budget. Done. Right? So then everybody else whose good status right now would also automatically be in the budget at least for 2 more weeks notice, right? And then the only question that's left is who are we going to add into the budget at the $1,500 to $1,700. So what happens is that everybody who's currently already in the budget isn't affected by any hard stop. It's only the people who have to make proposals to the HR board. So the longer they wait to propose to the HR board, that just hurts themselves. Check. That makes sense?
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's definitely a lot going on, but the most important thing is that we created a base budget, and our base budget is the top 3 buddy teams that were approved from before. And let's just go ahead and copy it in here. It's these three right here. Here it is. Okay, so we have our new overall budget and our new May June budget be top three. Yeah, that's it. So this would be the proposal would be that keep the base budget the same. And the answer is that these budget numbers could change slightly. So like we want to increase the Sifa-Azu a little bit or Lucy and Joseph, we can change these and increase them here and there. But generally that this would be the base budget. It's not going to go any lower than that. We would try to increase it if possible, but that's the proposal. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. Are there any objections to this? I mean, I think we're all pretty much on the same page here. Yeah. So there's no objections. That should be fine. And then that means that at least that's why it's so important to have a base budget. And then we still have an additional $500 to $1,500 for the rest of the budget. And who do we know we need to add? So we must add the following people. Most likely it would be like Joyce and Aline. Would be, or let's just call them high priority. High priority. Right? Why is Joyce and Aline high priorities? Because Joyce is a major leader. Must add. So the people we must add would be like Jessica, Nilabra.
Okay, can you please share your screen?
Oh, I'm not sharing my screen because I had to redo again. Thanks for reminding me. I wonder if I'm sharing my screen here too. No, it looks like it works. Okay. So we need to add Jessica, Nilabra, Sifa-Azu, Lucy, Aline, Joseph, Altina, Teresa, Mahidi. Right? Teresa, Mahidi must be added. And then we need to add Julia and Peter, our main buddy team, Mel and Melinda have to be added. All right, and then high priority would be Joyce and Aline, and then other considerations would be Asif and Mazi, Abdul and Shigimi. And this is there's also going to be some automatic removal proposals as well that we need to consider based on our ranking. And then we have Steve and Evelyn, and then we have Miguel and Luis, I believe. Is there anyone else, or is that everybody? So I guess the only other one is Monty and Kinyat, but I basically this is cut already. So Kinyat is with Monty is just not a good fit for her. I don't know why she's with Monty, but Monty, Steve, Melinda, or hey Julia, Adam's. I don't think Adam's involved anymore. Salahuddin, I don't believe is involved anymore as well. James is cut. Yeah, I think that's everything. Is that everybody? So the question for Jessica and Nilabra, Teresa, Mahidi is what are their buddy teams?
Jay, I think we're missing Mamoon.
All right, let's check on Mamoon. Mamoon got 2 week notice, so Mamoon would be in other considerations. Mamoon and who else is who's with Mamoon?
Yeah, Mamoon and Mehdi is right now the main buddy team.
Mamoon and who?
Mamoon and Mehdi.
Okay, well Mehdi might save Mamoon.
Teresa and Nilabra.
Teresa and Nilabra. Does anyone know Jessica?
Jessica and Rachel.
Great. Okay, so we can try to get Rachel back and see what we can do. but these ones basically, need to be added. And this would be need to be added for at least 2 weeks notice. All right. There's a really bad background noise and feedback. If someone could mute. All right, it's better.
Hello.
Hi, do you have a question, Steve? Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to let you know that I have to leave now.
Okay, great.
Because I'm committed somewhere else.
Okay. Do you want to check out and say what you're going to be working on, and then?
Okay. Thanks for this session, and for this week I'll be working. I'll continue working on the rankings, and also I'll be doing midweek check, invoicing, and billing.
Great, and just be sure on the rankings, we need a ranking verification spreadsheet for all of the rankings. I want to see that, and I want to verify it, and then also just send me the spreadsheet for the verification, and then as you guys are working on them, so I can give comments. Okay.
Okay.
Great. Good work. Thanks, Steve.
Okay. Bye. Bye, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye.
Cool. So I don't know if all of these people are going to fit in the budget. I mean, obviously all of them aren't going to fit in the budget, but the question is how many can we fit in the budget, and what are our options? Okay. So this is what we want, like Joyce, Lucy, myself, other people to be working on over the next week, is to see how many more people we can fit in the budget. All right. And then also we want to do all the main buddy team and online personnel profile.
Jay, why is not also Abdul is a high priority?
The two reasons why Abdul is not a high priority is one, because
ranking.
His ranking, he's just ranked really low in the ranking. Okay. So in his jurisdictional ranking, he's the lowest jurisdictional ranked worker. So what that most likely would mean is he would need to go to an HR board proposal, right? So there'd be a HR board proposal there. But that's, I mean, other than that, it's just like, he's not a co-chair right now. He's not doing the final budgets. I mean, is there a specific thing that Abdul is doing that we can't function without, or that no one else knows how to do? So, I mean, I would just say that Steve potentially would be a higher priority than Abdul. Does that make sense?
Steve Gates?
Yeah. Still, his budget is also high. Yeah. And Abdul's budget is less.
How much is Abdul's budget?
Abdul, this thing is close to that. I don't know what he proposed for the next.
Well, here he linked it here. Let's take a look.
$230. Yeah, Abdul has really gone too low. And still Abdul is also a leader. We need also
300.
Okay. Let's take a look at Abdul's budget. We haven't looked at it yet. Okay, so here's Abdul and Shagimi. So I'm very excited that you guys did this budget. This is great. So combined jurisdictional 471, 28 hours. Okay, and then here April, May for Abdul will be 231 for 13 hours. So, and then May, June, 230. Yeah. So, this would just need to be verified for, the full moon. But, Abdul is significantly lowering his rate from previous months. I mean, there were months where he was paid as much as $600, even more dollars. So, if we can fit him in the budget, then that sounds great. That would be great. I would love to keep Abdul. It'd be great to keep Abdul. Right, but he's still going to get automatically proposed. We just would need to vote no. Does that make sense? If we follow our protocols correctly, because he's ranked lowest on on the jurisdictional ranking, he would automatically get proposed to be removed from the budget, but we just vote no on that, and then we keep him in the budget. Does that make sense?
Okay. Okay, the question was, for example, because even basic budget, they did not propose this month, they proposed the 26th April. I think both of those budget proposal and this proposal, all of them go to the charcoal. I think it is the other people who will decide on voting.
Yeah, well, that's my point, is that if this is not a correct proposal, if $230 isn't actually the proposal for the current budget, which must have been proposed 6 weeks ago or 5 weeks ago at the full moon, then it needs to go to the HR board anyways, and it doesn't fit in the budget. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So it just depends on what was proposed 6 weeks ago. It needs to be verified, and it needs to be added to the budget. But either way, none of us want to get rid of Abdul. None of us want to get rid of Joyce. None of us want to get rid of Steve. None of us want to get rid of Miguel. We want to keep everybody. Okay? There's no question about that, right? The problem is that how can we keep everybody if the budget is so tight and we need to reduce the budget to something that is reasonable? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
for me, what's reasonable is someone who is willing to reduce, regardless of that person's rank low, and that person is willing to cut his budget or her budget. That means that person needs something. He has a problem, and he needs not to be out of the budget. He considers that person.
I agree. So the way that works is there's two steps to the budget. One is we create the base budget, right? So that's what we just did most recently. We have this new base budget with the top 3 people, right? Boom, base budget. So now the question is, who else can we fit in? So if you really think about it, the base budget is all we really should keep. So everybody who we're keeping on top of the base budget we're going above and beyond what we really should be spending. And so everybody is on notice and should be looking for other possible work options until we stabilize our income, right? So we still haven't done all of our accounting. We have to prioritize accounting. We need to figure out exactly how much funds we have, because even this budget, this $2,000 to $3,000 budget, I don't know if that's even a reasonable budget. It still might be too high, right? This could still be too high. Yeah, you know, so the point is that there's no guarantee the cuts are over yet until we do our accounting. So what we need to realize is that we just have to do our best to keep as many people as we can in the budget. But first we need our base budget, and then we add the additional people in. So if somebody is, you know, and you can say all you want that someone's willing to cut their budget more, but if their lowest or the requested is not fitting in the budget, then they should have requested or had a lower amount so that it could fit. You know, so it's just not, it's not our fault. It's like they should, you know, but we're going to work with each individual and help them, even if they don't fit in the budget, then it just needs to go to the HR board, okay? Here, I'll write that out. So basically, where are we? I'll put at the very, very bottom here. If a buddy team does not fit in the base budget, then we figure out their situation. You know, example, Steve, you know, $500, and then we can potentially, you know, take funds from future months to help people out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
This would not be part of the base budget, right? This would be a supplemental budget. Okay, and first and foremost, we need to get our base budget balanced base budget. All right, so let's just do our best, right? You know, keeping Abdul on for, what is it, like $230 a month is not a huge deal. But if you do Abdul times 4 people, then that equals $1,000 a month again, right? You understand?
Yeah.
Right? It's just like it adds up really, really, really fast. right? Which is really sad, but that's just the case. Like, it's just, you know, even if people are asking for very, very, very small amounts of money, it does add up. So anyways, let's just do our best. The sooner we get our budget drafted and looking at it, the better we can fit everybody into it, okay? So just let me know if you have any questions, Joyce and Lucy and other people working on the budget, and then we can keep editing it and just, I mean, add as many people as you possibly can. You know, that's like the goal, but it needs to fit within our $2,000 that we have in the budget, and then go from there. So are there any other questions about the next month's budget?
Jay, I have a question about our base budget for the first 3 teams.
Yeah.
I think in this session to select the amounts is this is the right. This is maybe not the right one because on our proposal, main Bariti Abdul main Bariti Masih Najul Jillo was $420, and Albina and Estevo is $480. Lucy and Joseph was $556.
Yeah. So basically, the bottom line is that that's their proposed requested amount. So the proposed requested amount for Asif, Razu, and Zilu is $420. The proposed requested amount for Albina and Steve is $480, right? So, and Lucy and Joseph is $556. So that doesn't mean that that's what they get. That's just what their proposal is. What is approved in the budget is a total of $2,600. So, and all these people said they would take lower. So Asif, Razu's and Zilu's lowest is $0. Albina and Steve's lowest is $0, and Lucy and Joseph is $250. So they're willing to take less money with a reduced hourly rate. So you reduce the hourly rate as well. Okay, like here, see, we did the reduced hourly rate. Does that make sense?
Yes, I understand. Can you check the voting form? I already linked in our today's talk. Just check the voting form and the first proposal. Because we'll approve the first proposal on the voting form.
All right, let's take a look. Do you have the link to the results?
Yeah, so we already approved this first proposal. So the
all right, here we go. Here's the results. So taking a look at the results. This is round 2. We've approved option 1. Yeah, to vote for the 3 buddy teams in the base budget. That's correct. That's the actual results are not that. The more detailed results, which are actually really pretty and cool, and we worked on them really hard. So we might as well check them out, how pretty they are. Is right here. So let's quickly review the results from the HR board vote. And again, what we're proposing is that this would be the foundation to our next month's budget. What you see here is you have these are all the verified votes over here. This is the actual vote that was given. This is the actual score vote. So it's a 6.63, which means it barely passes. Barely passes, and it works out to a 73.68%. Obviously, this is not consensus, but we strive for consensus when consensus cannot be reached. We've been working on this budget for over 4 months to build consensus. It's time to move on, and the HR board has the ability to override consensus. And so how it did that is you break down the weighted votes of the HR board. The higher ranked you are, the more power you have. And then this is the total points that everyone added up to. And then you give everybody their points for their vote, yes, abstain, no, and you add up the total amount of points, and then you get the percentages, and you have 70%, which is a yes vote, and that gets agreement. You also have jurisdictional agreement, so you have full 100% yes support for option 1. You can also see how much more support option 1 had than option 2 and option 3. For option 2, it doesn't pass. It's less than the 6.5 needed. Same with option 3, less than the 6.5 needed. Option 1 got 41%, less than the 50%, of course, that's required. And this is 25%. It's like not even close to, it's like really just a quarter. So they're just so far from passing, and you can clearly see that. So that's why we have option 1. Does that make sense, Abdul?
Yes, I understand. My main point is that the total amount. So which one we approve? This suppose for main body team 301. So is it the base budget for this for the next month for Asif and Jindu?
No, this is for this month, right? So these amounts can change slightly for next month, but that basically it'll be around the same. That make sense?
Yeah, okay.
So these 6 people are basically guaranteed for next month's budget. And then everybody else is guaranteed, who is in good standing is guaranteed at least 2 weeks notice. And that would include everybody in good standing. So that would be Jessica, Nilabra, Asif Razu, Lucy. Okay, so all that. So then people who are on 2 weeks notice need to have new budget proposals, and we need to get them fit into the budget. But I think that's pretty clear, right? And I think we'll be able to include a lot more people in the budget. And if Asif, Razu, Zilu, Lucy, Joseph, Albina, Sivo want to reduce their budgets to help more people fit in the budget, they could choose to do that. But either way, we need a balanced budget. Our budget needs to be balanced somewhere between $2,000, $3,000. If we don't include Steve or somebody that is like really bad shape, like maybe we would, pop in an additional $500 that we'd cut from somewhere else. But like this is it. Okay. And just so you guys know, Mel and Melinda are going to be the most expensive. So Mel and Melinda are the local SFAs of the quantum team, right? Quantum team. Mel is doing the grants. So she's like our most highest asset. That could be like, $500 to $1,000. And then Melinda is going to be, I think it's, we actually talked about this at the quantum session on Friday. Let me get that real quick. So we have Friday quantum. I don't see it. Oh, Andromeda. It was Andromeda. I think it was Andromeda at least. Maybe not. No. No, it was Saturday. It was Saturday. So Saturday quantum cobalt. Maybe it's here somewhere in here.
It's a quantum weekly session.
Exactly. Quantum weekly session. Where is it? Too many things. Anyways, it was something around like either the 968 from before or the 740 something. And then there was a 550. So those are options. It looked like she was willing to do the 740, which would be the middle option, and the 648. Both Mel's and Melinda's budgets will be coming down in the month after that, but this could easily be as much as $1,740 for the month. So it's gonna be difficult to figure how all this is gonna work out. But again, this is gonna be an extra $1,000 for the grants. So it's really just the 550 to 740 for Melinda. Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah.
All right. So, but this is by far the most expensive. But I mean, in my feeling, we can't get rid of the local SF Bay team, because without the local team, we don't really have any chance. Like, we need the help. There's just too much work to do locally, and it's expensive, but we just need a little bit. And Melinda has been amazing. And she's only going to be here for like another month or two, and then she's going to be taking off like 2 or 3 months. And Julia and Peter are $0. They don't cost anything. So I think we're going to be okay. We just got to put it all together. If we're a little bit over the 3,000, it's not the end of the world. It'll just be like for a month or two until we can continue to reduce the budget. But let's just
okay,
do
Jay,
our
what
best.
is the task now that we need to do?
We need to update the budget. We need an updated budget.
For this month.
For the next month.
For
I
the,
update
for
the
the next
budget
month.
for next month.
For the next month.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's already updated with the base budget. Then we need to
update everything. New team, new income, new team breakdown, and all.
Yeah, the biggest difference between this month's budget and all the previous budgets is that we need to be including all of these new buddy teams, right? So instead of just the normal teams, we're including all of the quantum, we're including all of the recruitment and Jello team, etc. Okay. The other thing that we should also consider for next month is whether or not we want to bring back the bonuses. So currently there's no bonuses for this month.
There is this problem of bonuses. I think like now people who are having negatives in these other times by using the senior managers money. They have advantage of using that money and it goes like that. I think this time we need to be very keen next time when we have a budget, we need to be keen. Those who are having negative, they have to make sure they don't use, if they use their senior managers, next time we subtract exactly what they're using and time back.
Yeah, but I think overall we're just not going to worry about the senior manager bonuses for now because I don't think we're about to do senior manager positions anytime soon. So let's just kind of not worry about that and get rid of that.
Yes, I understand. We don't worry about that, but they are taking advantage. They're using that money. Another team that are not using the money for senior managers. So.
Well, yeah. Well, we can't be using senior manager money in the budget. It's just not there.
Okay. And also in future, we need to consider everyone equally, regardless of where you are or your jurisdiction is high. As long as everyone is just working the same, because there is no one is working less and one is working more. All of us are equal. I think if when in future just we have opportunity to grow, we need to check on that. We need everyone to be treated equally. We don't want to see this person has a high jurisdiction ranking. They take advantage of that. We need to be treated equally.
So treated equally in terms of the pay?
In terms of budget, yes.
To everyone to be paid equally?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also
when we work there, we work this.
But we have different jurisdiction per place.
And there's also different needs for people.
We do more work.
It doesn't matter. Even this jurisdiction thing is even making us have a budget crisis. You know, you just receive what you are working, what you are delivering.
Okay, but I think that's I think that problem has to do with the tabulation. I think it will get solved. But I just also want, one of the things that Abdul brought up that's super duper important is the team equity. I don't know if we're going to have time to go through it a lot, but team equity is very, 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 very important because most of the money, most of the value of everyone's work is not in upfront pay. It is in equity and tokens, okay? Yeah. And shares, etc. Right? We are all owners of the organizations within the network. And so what this is called the W8BN. When you fill out a W8BN, it's actually an ownership form. It's saying that you have ownership in the companies that you're working with. And so therefore, if you get distributions of funds within as an owner, you actually are going to get withheld taxes from the U.S. government as long as the organizations are in the US, which is why you fill out a W-8BEN. So what this means is that the minimum rate for the entire world is $500,000 for 4 years at full time, which is 30 hours per week. Okay, so this is our current minimum global rate. There are higher local rates, like US is $1 million for 4 years at full time, but this is this doesn't affect percentage value of the global workers. So U.S. workers do not get global worker value unless they invest in the global workforce. Okay, so if you basically are a U.S. worker, yeah, you would have to invest half of your value into the global network in order to get global value, right? So the global value is primary, and it's $500,000 for 4 years. Let's see what this means. I believe it's like $30,000 a year or something like that. So let's see, $500,000 divided by 4 years divided by our triple package is $31,250 a year. $31,250. So what we're saying is that this would be the minimum equity distribution for the entire world, right? So it's a lot of money for a lot of places in the world. If you divide by 12, it works out to about $2,600 a month. So what we're saying is that anyone across the world should be making around $2,600 a month. And our lowest jurisdiction, this would be local jurisdiction, is equal to $300 per month. So we're saying that nobody across the world should even be in a jurisdiction with less than $300 a month. Like that would be the minimum anywhere in the entire world. Because there's a certain cost of living to live reasonably. So if you look at the difference, if you take 2,600 and divide by 300, it's at 8.5 times difference. So 8.5x as a global citizen. So basically what we're saying is that even though some people live on less than $300 a month across the world, as a global citizen, it would be very easy if someone's traveling or doing anything to spend $2,600 a month. I mean, is there any way that someone couldn't spend $2,600 a month? I don't think so. You know, but that's basically the rate. So even though you get less or more money in any particular month as a worker, everybody's getting the same equity, right? Because if you take more, if you're getting paid, right, I'll note this down. Like, so if you get paid $600 per month, then you get 2,600 minus 600 is $2,000, equal to $2,000 equity package. And then if you get paid $300 per month, then you get 2,600 minus 300, which is $2,300. So do you see how it works out? So everybody actually gets the same. That makes sense?
Yeah.
You know, and I mean, $2,600 is a lot of money to be throwing out there per month. But the reason why we feel like that's important is because, especially when we go public, we're saying that what we're asking people to do is to actually work to transform the world. That people who are working to transform the world and make the world a better place deserve to get paid very well, you know? And whether or not that actually turns into any value is up to us and how much work we do and how we work as a team. Because equity is, there's no guarantee of value in equity. It's just saying like you're getting shares, you're getting stocks and you know, equity and tokens within the organization and the company. Okay.
Yeah.
Sweet. So there's a whole bunch of more details with Team Equity. This is just the overall global rate package. And and there's also another link that I can list here just for fun, which is on the info doc. So this is the global $1.5 million offer. So it's a $500,000 offer across the entire world for 4 years at full time. Right. So this goes through why we're offering this value and what the solution is and why and how we're transforming the world. Okay. And what it means. So you're welcome to look into that. But bottom line, like, you know, we don't do volunteers. It's like if you're working with us, you automatically are getting value and equity, and you're a co-owner of the organization. So I think that, but I'd love to go into more details. So they just to cover what needs to be gone over. So next steps on Team Equity is, or let's just say equity. So there's Team Equity. There is daily equity spreadsheets, or let's just say daily, weekly, right? Equity spreadsheets, and then you have the network equity. So we need to go over each one of these individually and make sure that it's really clear what's going on. All of this here that we just went over would be related to network equity, and specifically global network equity for the global organization. But yeah, I mean, I think we should be able to recruit a lot more people, as well as like people who work just for equity and tokens, especially once we get our tokens going. But any other questions on the Team Equity, or do we want to go over it in more detail now, or are we ready to check out, or questions about the budget? But does that make sense in terms of like the overall money that everyone's getting is not just their upfront pay? Like the more upfront pay you get, the less value that you get. Does that for equity? Does that make sense? So let's say you get paid $2,600 per month. If you got paid $2,600 per month, you would get $0 of global equity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if you get $600 a month, you get $2,000 equity. You get $300 a month, you get $2,300. You get paid $2,600 a month, you get $0.
The lower you are paid, the higher your equity, right?
Exactly.
Jay, question.
Mm-hmm.
Shall I remove the J support for this 18 degrees west invoice tabulation?
No, we're gonna leave the J support in.
Just next time, huh?
If we do we want to vote to remove if we remove the recruitment commission, we're gonna leave J support, and then we might add in Jello support if we get rid of the recruitment commission.
No, she's not asking on the amount there. She's asking about those people billing on tabulation.
Oh, tabulation.
You have to remove because no one communicated.
For this 18 degrees, shall I remove the ones that they put a J support, or leave it and just next month we will?
Okay, well let's go over who it was. Who was it?
Yeah,
it was Fulcrum,
and also Phoenix, maybe.
And how much?
No, Phoenix not this month.
How much was it?
It was wait, just a minute. A J support. Wait, it's in the calculation. J support is like 16 hours.
And how much money?
$103.99.
Okay, well, why don't we just make it like $60 and like, you know, we'll give them a warning.
$60.
Yeah, a warning and yeah, better.
Yeah.
There was no communication. 16 good hours.
But Jay, is your work report a mandatory priority? I don't understand.
No, it's not a mandatory priority.
And everyone is working on your work reports, not even communicating. We don't understand actually. We need just to do some reasonable work also.
Yeah, cool. Great. Yeah, it'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
So I'll put $60, Jay. $60.
Yeah, we'll do $60 for now, just to give, because I mean it is work that they did, and it does help doing the work report, but it's like it's just not an essential priority. There's other things that are higher priority. Okay, so I think we're ready to check out, right? Ready to check out? Or do you guys want to do some more team equity? Oh wait, we want to go through Teresa's responsibilities real quick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a bit of that.
Okay, so let's go through Teresa's responsibilities and then let's check out.
Okay.
All right. So what do you want to work on, Teresa? Or what do you have questions about?
Yeah, I would like to learn more about the main session preparation and support, which is include lunar and planetary sessions, and also getting documentation in the correct folders, verify all documents, accounts, and backups. I think this will be more important. If there is some information missing, I can try to help to update the information on the documents, if there is any update to do it. So if someone can help me on that,
okay,
what is
cool.
necessary to do?
All right, so a couple things. So first off, can someone mute? I think that's you, Albina, or something. I don't know. Albina, do you want to mute?
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's fine. Okay, so a couple things. First off, on the documentations, over time, the documentation is going to get more important. So we have for the local SFA, we're going to do the virtual office. And there's also like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with the documentations. I don't know if it's necessarily like a mandatory priority right now, but we can definitely prioritize that and get you involved in that. As far as the session support, the main things here is understanding the voting forms. So we need to be doing voting forms after. I think you can get involved in that. Like, so today we have a few proposals. We've got some proposals on like, if we want to, expand and invite Jessica and Rachel to get more involved. Did we ever pass that, or does anyone object? And then there's also the ending the recruitment commission. So both of these two need to be voted on and done. And then we also had a couple other proposals, like the keeping the base budget the same for next month, right? And then these would get sent out to the core team. Also, there's a little bit in communications here. So communications, we need help getting our email lists and Google groups updated, right? So this is important. From there, we need to have the, let's think of like, the Mercury session, not as important, but the Venus session, we need to make the list and invite all, executives in the network.
And for example, for the communications that you are saying that to have the emails and Google groups, should we create like a document for that? For all
sure.
workers?
Yeah, everything gets everything is going to have a link. So all of these would be a link for responsibility organizing, right?
No, I know, but should I create a document, a new document for this, or should we, for example, the email we can use like our working personnel documents to include, for example, the email, or should we create a new document which includes email and document group updates?
I mean, mainly it's just time. We need to sit down and go over all the lists. Like we have documents with lists of all of the email groups, and then we just need to update the email groups and then add all the current workers to email groups. Like when I get emails with, everybody's CC'd on it, like this, like 18 people, like this is all bad. right? We don't,
okay.
we don't want all these people. We just want an email group, like a Google group that you send to and you do updates. Okay, does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, so this helps us for all of our meeting and session support, so we can send out voting forms. We can send out,
for all.
yeah, for everybody, right? And then we can communicate more as a global team, because it's hard to communicate just on Skype, right? So that would be really, really helpful to get that going. And then the Venus session, we need to make our list of all the executives in the network. So we should have every single executive in the network, you know, what their position is, and they need to be invited to the Venus session. The same would be true for the, and I want to make sure it's really clear that it is okay to invite people, you know, 3 months in advance. Does that make sense? Like, we don't need to wait till 3 days before the Venus session to be organized and prepared for it. We need to be prepared for it many months in advance. The same thing would be true for the Earth session. The Earth session is coming up in the beginning of July. We need to invite all board members of all organizations in the network. And it's actually not just board, it's council. So it's boards and council members in all organizations in the network, okay?
This is why we have now the Google Calendar with all the sessions that are going to happen. All, I don't know if it is all, but like for this week, I think they are all there.
Yeah, we would invite them in the Google Calendar invite as well, definitely. Right, and this would also be the there would be an email list for each. So each session has its own email list, its own team equity, its own communication systems. Like, every single session needs to have preparation and support for it. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's just like, you know, learning how to do it for one. So the most important of all, the most important thing of all, right? The most important thing of all is not the work, okay? What is important is the responsibility, organizing, and creating the step-by-step instructions for getting the work done, okay? So that's gonna take, like this could take, you know, many months,
okay,
right? To actually get clear step-by-step instructions. So once we have clear step-by-step instructions for one session, because remember, you have the dynamic weekly session, you've got the quarter moon sessions, you've got the new moon sessions, you have the Venus and the Mercury. Each one of those is its own process. Does that make sense? And they're all overlapping, and they're all in conjunction with each other. And when you're getting ready for one, you're implementing another. And so you have to be really organized to be coordinating all of these different sessions. And every session's a little bit different. It'll have different people invited to it. It'll have different protocols. It'll have different goals out of the session. It'll have different outcomes, right? So the focus is just to do one, and then you can carbon copy that and update it for all the other ones. That makes sense?
Okay.
Yeah. So get one session organized. So just focus on one. For example, for now, our focus should be for the new moon session. Right? So session support for the new moon. So let's just break it down one other layer. So there's two types of session support. There's session support for main sessions, and then there's session support for let's call them events. So the events would be like, let's just call it like large, just call them events, right? So this would be like a Ceres, Jupiter, Saturn, Galactic, etc., etc. Does that make sense? So the Saturn session, for example, is a much bigger level and has a very different process. So all of these are very different process. All of the main session support, which includes weekly sessions, quarter moon, new moon, full moon, Mercury, Venus, Earth, and Mars. right? All of these ones are basically regular main sessions. Okay?
Okay.
So these all basically follow the same process, but each one has a slightly different focus. Each one has its own document, its own process, its own steps. But overall, they're all more or less the same. So what is the main focus of the new moon? Can anyone answer that for Teresa?
Focus on the budget.
Budget, yeah. What else?
Budget.
Review.
No, we do our monthly goals.
Making the priorities for the month.
Yeah,
How
monthly
to do
goals.
the priorities.
Priorities.
Monthly goals.
Right, so what does this mean in terms of session preparation? Oh, also there's one other thing that we do is the co-chair elections, right?
Yeah.
So what does this mean in terms of preparation for the session?
Preparation. Reminders. Intention about the session.
So what do we need to do to prepare for the session?
Okay, inform the workers that the session is going to happen in a specific date.
Yeah, well, Zilu's been doing that, right? We want to like break down the steps that Zilu does, right, to make this happen. So what Zilu needs to do is Zilu needs to send us a step-by-step instructions, right? So you need to tell Zilu that he needs to let us know how he does the reminders. Does that make sense?
Okay.
So it's perfectly fine for Zilu to continue to do the reminders, but it's not enough. He needs to break it down step by step. This is how you do the reminders. This is so he could train other people to do it, right?
Okay. And another thing, because these reminders doesn't go to all workers, right? Like
No.
for example,
It would only go for the new moon session is only for global workers.
Okay, so
Yeah,
the information goes only for the global workers, right? Right?
Exactly. And for example, you actually are not a global worker. You're actually a Jello worker at the Cobalt session. So the fact that you're here today is kind of, we're glad that you're here. And eventually we want to promote everybody into the global workforce. But for now, right now our proposal is just to bring up Jessica and Rachel into the global, but eventually the goal will be to bring other people, including you, right? So so it's kind of like a promotion, getting people involved in the global. But so who is invited to each session is different depending on the session. But everyone should be invited to some sessions. Everyone's invited to at least a weekly main session. Does that make sense?
Yes.
But the question that I have is, what do we have to do to prepare for the new moon session besides just the reminder? What do you have to do in relationship to prepare on the budget, monthly goals and priorities, co-chair elections?
Yeah. What you want to discuss? For example, you should be like, you should know before what you want to discuss.
What's your question, Jay?
It's more specific than that. Yeah, we're not expecting you, Teresa, to know this. I'm just trying to get other people who already know this stuff. Okay, so what do we do for the budget, monthly goals and priorities, and co-chair elections? What needs to be done before the session, the new moon session? We have 1 week.
We need to prepare first the budget.
Yes. Prepare the budget. What do we need to do to prepare the budget?
We update the budget so that can be easier when the full moon, we are in a full moon session. It can be easier for us to pass the budget.
Okay, that's good. But there's more than that, right? There's also super team budgets and main buddy team budgets and OPPs, right? So everybody needs to get their budgets ready. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, so you need to, so what does this mean? This means that we need to send out reminders to everyone that they need to get their budgets ready. Okay, that makes sense?
Yeah.
And this may include, HR board proposals, if applicable. All right, so what about the next one?
send the in the Skype the prioritization spreadsheet.
Yes. So we send the prioritization spreadsheet so that people can vote ahead of time.
The problem is, even though you send a prioritization spreadsheet, people do ignore.
I know, that's why we spend 10 minutes at the beginning of the meeting as well, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't encourage people to do it ahead of time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. And what about the co-chair elections?
The latest to send during the 8th session.
And the voting form need to be sent before full moon so that people should vote, and results should be tallied before the full moon. So we would just come and present the result and approve.
Exactly. So there's one other thing missing there. There's one other component. What else is missing for the co-chair elections? And this would be similar to also the monthly goals.
Mm-hmm.
What do you have to do before you send out the voting form for the co-chair elections? You update it. Update the voting form. You have the correct people on it, etc., etc., etc. Okay? And eventually we'll even have updated updated info docs.
At least we are improving on election because
yes, add any new topics and priorities. All right, so this will be the same thing. So update the priorities spreadsheet to add any new topics or priorities. Right. So the idea is that during the week we figure out all these new priorities, and we want to make sure they're added so that they get prioritized for the meeting. And then the last thing that we're going to be adding is we're going to be adding a weekly check-in. So the weekly check-in is, and there's also the payroll check-in, but the weekly check-in is for the global like percentage work, client, etc. I think we have those. I think we have all of the new forms, but let's be sure that we know what we're doing before we send them out. Worker communications forms. So these are the new communications forms, and we're going to be adding this in. We don't need to do it right away for this new moon, but maybe we will. So the idea is that instead of just the midweek check-ins, any workers who are working like daily or at least, many times a week would be doing not just the midweek check-in, but also the weekly check-in. So you either are only doing the weekly check-in or you're doing the weekly check-in and the midweek check-in. Does that make sense? So the midweek check-in would be due at the 8th moon. The weekly check-in for the global, so you have the global midweek checks and you have the global weekly checks. So if you go to the form, it should look a little bit like percentage. Your estimated total hours. All right, I'm going to show you guys how fast you can do this. So Jay, estimated total hours, I probably did like 55 to 60. Who knows? Estimated total compensation for those hours. Well, 0 from network, but I get what I get, like $200. Estimated percentage client work. I don't know, 65%. Estimated internal ops. I did a lot of payroll. 35%. Estimated assigned work. Well, that would be really high, 85%. Maybe a little lower than that, 75%. Output, Stanford grant, which is a deliverable. Payroll. Actually, payroll's not done yet because of the Payoneer. Output's the hardest, right? Stanford grant, payroll. What else did I do for output? Oh, I did EXA letters. Submit. Right, so it's really quick, just a couple minutes, like a minute, 2 minutes. It is like a quick check-in for your week so that we can keep track of what's going on. And the midweek would be similar, but it would just be half of the week. Okay.
Jay, I have a question, Jay.
Yeah.
Are we supposed to edit the form that we have for normal sessions so that we can put the proposal, the new proposal?
Or make a copy.
Which form? For what?
Then just these are normal form for like maybe full moon proposal, new moon proposal, like this proposal.
The proposal forms is different. The proposal forms is for after the session, and we would do one for each session. So these proposals, like, you know, to expand Jessica and Rachel's role, to end the recruitment commission, to keep the budget base the same for next month, right? These proposals would all go in a separate proposal form just for today's quarter moon session. That makes sense? Like every single session.
A new one, right?
Yeah, a new.
Thank you.
Yeah. So if we review this, where was it? Voting form. So this happens after. So every session has its own voting form.
Yes, good. Now that's good.
If and only if there are proposals. It doesn't matter if the proposal is passed. All proposals are added to the voting form. Right? Why would we do that? Why would we do that?
To keep the track for other proposals.
To keep track for proposals. Well, no, that would go on the decisions doc. Decisions doc would be for keeping track of approvals.
What about the votes that people vote? Maybe if you now edit, you will interfere with that votes.
I'll just explain it. So the bottom line, I mean, those are all perfectly valid reasons, but the number one reason is because if someone doesn't show up for the main session, their vote still counts. Does that make sense? So we empower all workers, and even if you don't show up or are not a global worker, you still can vote on the proposals. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like if you don't show up, it's like it doesn't mean that you just are excluded. Everybody still gets a chance to vote on the proposals. So, and this is technically part of our official decision-making process. Involves a few things. One, it's the 0 to 9 score voting, right? This is like Olympic voting model. 2, that you do in-person, real-time, and we strive for consensus. 3 is we do voting form, where everyone not present can still vote and cast their vote. And then lastly is we also do what's called locational, like we basically still want the 8 octants. So there needs to be, what do we do? Like 5 of the 8 octants. Be a minimum of 5 of the 8 octants. So it doesn't matter if just like, you know, like there's a lot of Zuri workers. All the Zuri workers can't just approve proposals and screw over the rest of the world. Does that make sense? So those are the 4 layers of our voting for the highest official voting and decision-making processes in the organization. So unless we do voting forms, it's not totally official. Okay. So anyways, this is a detailed stuff. You don't really need to know this, but it's good to understand why we do the voting forms. And it's because we empower everybody in our network. We don't expect everybody to show up at every meeting. So for example, we know there's about 30 people involved in the network right now, if not more. And we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us. So 6 of us might be here and we can make a decision on behalf of the global steering team, representing, you know, most of the octants from the world. But that doesn't mean that we can just screw over the other 25 people in the organization. Okay, that makes sense?
Okay.
Yeah, they all get a say on every decision that we make can be reviewed. And that's where the voting form comes And it also helps with communication. You know, so the other reason is for communication about new policies. Okay, so anyways, I think we're ready to check out. Any other questions about any of this?
Jay?
Yeah.
How about the Zoom payment request of Zilu and Razu?
Well, we tried to do the Zoom payment and it didn't work. It got declined. So we need to try it again. But ideally, we'll get our application approved for. Yeah, so we're waiting to get approved for our Payoneer. Yeah. So we'll need to send them another message, but I'm happy to try again. I mean, let's just prioritize payroll for like, you know, tomorrow, or I'm gonna be at Stanford for some of tomorrow, so maybe Wednesday would be better. But tomorrow during Sonic or Cobalt, or Wednesday. Okay. Yeah. So we can try to.
Are we still on hard stop?
No, we haven't been on hard stop at all because we passed the budget.
Yes.
Wow, good.
Jamie, last question. Research and grants. Is there a category in the invoice tabulation for that?
That's gonna be more of like think about it more like a bonus. So it's basically just for Mel. Mel's the only one who's working on research and grants, so it just goes to cover her pay. Does that make sense?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, so you can kind of ignore it in relationship to the tabulation because it's just for Mel.
Yeah.
Good. At least now we have tried right there on rankings.
Yeah, we have done that.
Okay, well, we'll definitely send them over to me so we can take a look at them. I mean, they're not done until we go over them and review them, but I feel like it's a little late right now. We've been going for 3 hours, so let's go ahead and check out, and then next time we can go over the ranking.
Okay. Hello, Jay.
Yeah, Abdul.
Before we go check out, can we just quick review on our main verification?
What do we want to verify? To verify what?
Just a quick review on our mandatory list. That phase 1 we need to accomplish.
To review the global goals, is that what you said? These ones?
No. I just talking about the mandatory verification spreadsheet.
You want to go over the mandatory priorities?
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing is that we obviously don't have the hard stop. So we can change all of these to, you know, just normal priorities. All right, so Stanford grant. I mean, it's basically 100% complete. We have a new grant, which is going to be the Wallace Foundation grant. Mel and J, 5%. So maybe someone can do the colors here. WCDC website for grant, done. Good enough. Tax extensions nonprofits. This is close, but we need to confirm from Melinda that she mailed them. All right, so that's very, very important. And this would be a top priority. I would say this is like a 9. And that's due on the 15th, so we have a couple days on that. This would be yellow. Essential budget work. Well, we're all working on that. We got it. I would say we're above 50%, right? Making progress. So this would be like Joyce, Lucy, get our budget ready for New Year. Global budget, same thing. And these are both.
Yeah, you can also put me there on the budget.
And I would say it's the same 55%. HR board votes voting forms done. Although we might have a new round. This is the old round that may have new rounds for like Gal, Steve, Pay, etc. Super team budgets. Super team invoices. Well, the invoices are really close, right? I mean, it's basically done. You just need to send out, still need to send out the amount to each team. Okay, Joyce?
Yes.
Yes.
Super team budgets. We're not really doing so good on that. Like, we need super team budgets for sure. Global invoice tabulation. Same thing here. These are pretty much done, right? It's just this is what still needs to be sent out.
What do you mean super team budgets?
Super team budget. So this would be like Dynamic, Cobalt, Jello, recruitment, etc.
Yeah, why 20% only?
More than 20%?
Because we're doing this every month, right?
Yeah.
Budget.
So this will be for the next month.
Yeah, it is 20%. Yeah, it's okay.
So we need all that for the
It's
new
okay.
year.
Because
Main
I think people are not yet even approving the budget. So
MBT proposal is like, it is like, 65 maybe.
Let's put 60%. I want to see that because they need to be all done. I mean, anyone who doesn't have a main buddy proposal or online personnel profile that's updated should be immediate hard stop.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? Main buddy team process. That's pretty much the same. Tax form verification for all active workers. I mean, there's a couple missing, but we're pretty good on that, right?
yeah.
Rankings and ranking verification. Again, I want to see this. I don't think we're as far along as we might think, and plus we have the overall rankings, etc. But we're getting close. Payroll setup and payment.
Oh, Jay, we are like 75 or 80 even.
How about 70%?
Yeah.
But we need to go over it. It's like we haven't seen it and gone over it yet. It's important.
You can just go over. I assure it's just good.
Where is the verification spreadsheet? Do we have the verification spreadsheet?
You don't have only verification, that's the only thing.
Okay, so maybe we should put it down to 65%. Like that's the whole thing is the verification and the verification spreadsheet.
Okay.
All right, and this is a new verification spreadsheet, right? So this would be this is a new verification spreadsheet for all ranking types. Okay.
Yeah.
Payroll setup and payment. I mean, we're making a little progress here, but we're still not great. Maybe like 58%, 60% maybe. Main session prep and support. Well, we went over that today. It's really good that we went over it. Hard stop, self-driven responsibilities coordination. Well, we're not on hard stop anymore, so that's no longer applicable. Getting documentations in correct folders, verify all document counts and backups. I mean, I think we just took this off
Yes.
Already, but we might be doing that and prioritizing it soon. Executive assistants, virtual assistants, personal assistants. I mean, we're doing this a little bit, but it's like we just don't have time for it. Personal assistants, no. Verification of the IRS, no. 0. I mean, this is really low. 5. Personal assistants, 3.
I was prioritizing executive assistant. I thought we did not have time to go through.
Yeah, we're definitely doing good on the check-ins. We just need to figure out how to prioritize. I think after all the crises and everything dies down, and everything will get mellower and it'll be better.
Okay.
2017 taxes. Downloading and categorization. Yes. I mean, there's progress going on here. Maybe like 20%. You guys are doing a little bit.
I think Abdul and Chilo did that yesterday.
Yeah. So we have global midweek check-ins.
They did not download.
Midweek / weekly.
There was nothing done on this.
It was verification only.
So this definitely got some major progress with Mahidi. Mahidi's been doing great. Coordinating worker schedules and matching responsibilities, mandatory priorities. Well, this is important. I don't know if we're doing very good on that, but we're making progress. Maybe 33%. Essential personnel support and worker coordination. Essential policy keeping, organizing. It's like 5%. Documentation. So this is the documentations that you want to work on. So Teresa, you need to check in with Melinda, and this would be like the virtual office. All right. Anyways, I think this is pretty good. We're making some progress here.
I think we can add another priorities. Seleni calendars update for the next month.
Okay. Anything else?
Calendar verification.
Yeah, and planetary sessions.
Yeah. Good.
So you need to review the calendar that Zilu made for the year's planetary session. Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, I would give these like, maybe, yeah, we'll give it 5 priority. All right, cool. So I think that Enrico Law is just not really where it looks like I might be getting fired. So where's that going?
Yeah.
Rankings and ranking verification, fine, treasury support, money organizing, fine. Okay, cool. All right, let's check out. Are we ready to check out?
Yes.
Jay, last. Because Zilu is asking the $50 test payment canceled?
Yeah, that didn't work. The Zoom got canceled for some reason. I don't know what happened. We just need to try it.
So the $50 was canceled.
Yeah, we just need to try it again. I mean, I don't know why it didn't work out. It just didn't. I just don't know.
The problem with Zilu for June is the bank account. The problem is maybe the bank account that Zilu said me.
Okay, so yeah, we just need to try the new updated information. Just give it a go again. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Cool. It should work. I mean, it would be great. I think we'll be able to get Zoom. There's really no reason why Zoom shouldn't work. Does that make sense? Like Zoom should work. I don't know why it hasn't worked yet. We just got to fix it. So, and then from there, we eventually will get the Payoneer set up. But Payoneer is like 10 times complicated than we ever could have imagined. And if we quickly review the payroll, under New Moon here, it's really just all of these Payoneer workers. They're the only ones who haven't been paid, pretty much. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops. Abdul, we could pay with Upwork if you wanted. And then Zoom, Zilu, and a C5. We want to try to do Zoom. Abdul?
Yeah, I want my payment from Upwork for this month. This month means 18 degree. First month.
Okay, so you want to get this pay for Upwork?
Yeah, Upwork. Only for the 18 degree month.
Yeah.
After 18 degree month, I want my payments from Payoneer.
Okay, cool. All right, so Lucy, do you want to take us through the checkouts, or are there any more questions on anything, or are we good?
I have no question. We need to allow you at least to take a rest. It has been a long day for you.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, let me take you through check-in. Maybe if you guys still have a question for Jay.
Jay, did you go over the forms? What you call that? The communications. Is that a form? You call a form, or that Behedi made? Are they all correct? So we can use them on the midweek check.
They're really good. I'd still probably be good to go through each individual one before sending it out. Just to make sure. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, let's check out. Joyce, can you check out?
Oh, also, I want to remind you that the super team forms are not sent out in bulk. They're sent out by each individual super team based on the needs of the super team, and each meeting is different, based on when the meeting happens during the week, okay? So it's only the global check-in that needs to be sent out regularly for the 8th moon and the new moons. Okay, Lucy, go for it.
Okay. Josie, can you check in, please?
Check out?
Check out.
Check out, sorry. Wow.
Okay.
Check out.
Yes, I give this session like a 7, and I'll be working on, of course, budget, voting forms also, invoicing. Continue the updating for the amount for each team, and also I want to work also on sponsorship program, and also and taxes also, of course.
Which taxes? Just taxes.
Taxes, the more taxes now. We have several more taxes.
And finances, yeah, finance and taxes.
GCG, GCG.
I really forget to ask the question. Anyway, for next time, let me preserve it. Abdul?
Yeah. I give this session on 7.5. The session is very good, and I need to focus on CDB calendar for the next month. Exam weight access. Then on to help on budgets and ranking, and a little bit about team equity.
Huh?
Team equity.
Team equity.
What?
Team equity.
Oh, team. Okay.
That's it.
Albina?
For me, this was a good session. It is 7. Actually, we discussed much and on what's supposed to be done. I'll be working on updating MBTs and online personnel profiles. Rankings also, budget, calendar scheduling, planetary sessions, and what else? Yeah, more taxes. I think I did up to step 4. So we'll continue on that also.
Okay. Thank you, Albina J.
And also payroll, payroll first step and also first verification. Week 1 and 2, there is the month of 151 degree west.
Jay?
I thought this session went well, you know, maybe a little bit long, but it could have gone much longer. We have lots to talk about. So I'll give it like a 7.3, and then I am going to be working on payroll and Z Collaborator here at Stanford, and I'm going to be working on just trying to take care of myself and try to relax with all the crazy exit stuff going on. Oh my God. And then just help out as much as I can with everybody, do training and things. So, and I'm sure there's a bajillion other things, but I'm tired. Check.
Thank you, Jay.
Hey, what is the collaborator?
So we just did the Stanford grant.
Okay.
And the Stanford grant is it's called the Z Collaborator, and it's a project between EGZA and Stanford. It's all about sustainability and lowering the temperature of the planet so that we don't kill billions of people. Yeah. So we want to be sustainable and have reduce the climate in all the hot economy across the world and make it a cool economy. Yeah, it's really cool. Hopefully we'll get funding. We can work on it. I mean, nothing changes with us. I mean, if it wasn't for the fact that I was getting fired from EGZA and all the problems, we would have more than $2,000. So the fact that we only have $2,000 to $3,000 is like because I got fired, because before I was bringing in $5,000 per month, minus paying Jay was our overall budget, right? So basically I'm still paying everybody out of my own pay, but the point is that now that I'm basically not bringing in any income myself, there's no more money to pay people because there's no money, you know? So it makes it even worse than it was before. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, originally the goal was not to have to go all the way down to $2,000 right away like this, but right now we just have no choice because there's just no other money to pull from, except for our basically our annual budget. So we have our annual budget, and our annual budget is what constrains the amount, and we're already in the red. We're big time in the red, so we already need to be cutting more. We'll just have to figure that out. But for now, let's just keep as many people as we can in the budget, and as long as we're constraining, we'll be okay. Because the goal is to bring in more money as soon as possible. Like, hopefully one of these grants works out.
What else should we do to bring our income, Jay? Is there any other way? Do you have other clients that we can work with?
The most important thing that we can do is to get our methods set up and get organized as a team and just be ready for the future, because I'm telling you, clients and money is not the problem. We can get more clients. It's not that hard to get clients and to have more money. The problem is keeping the clients and doing the work. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the sooner we can get organized and get all the work done based on our working as a team, the sooner we can bring in more money. So and we're getting better every single day. You know, so we just need to slow down, calm ourselves down, figure out exactly what needs to get done, get it done on time, you know, in an organized, professional way, so that we can start. I mean, if we can't even do our team equity, we can't even do what we're already trying to do, there's no reason to be exacerbating ourselves. If someone wants to start their own business, they can, but I can't handle it. You know, it's just too much work. You know, there's no way I can do it on my own, and our current team is not up to the task, if you know what I mean.
We can just give it a trial, Jay. We'll do it.
We can't. We're still not even doing the work that we already have. Like, I don't think you guys understand how many things still aren't getting done. Like, I would say that we are still like not even 25% of the way. Like, we're making progress, but we're not even 50% yet. We're not even close. So it's like if we work really, really hard and we focus, I would say 2 months. Like, we get all of our methods set up in 2 months. But if we want to prioritize, we should, like, our next step should definitely be on the methods, right? The methods is the #1 priority to getting more clients and getting all of our work done. So let's make sure that that one is bold.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Let me check out. I will give it.
Yeah, we'll get there.
7.5.
We'll get there, you know. But there's no guarantee ever, you know, in terms of like bringing in money.
Mm-hmm.
And the last thing we want to deal with is another disaster of, like, I mean, the amount of money we're losing and all the problems and causing, it's just not worth it. It's just so much just chaos because we didn't do our invoicing. We didn't do our client relations. We didn't do our client agreements. We need those, right? And we also, let's also prioritize that for our current clients. So all of our own and current internal clients, we need to do client invoicing, client agreements, right? And then this also relates to the sponsorship program. Okay. So all of the sponsorship program are also our clients as well. And so all of these should have client invoices, client agreements, and we should be doing our sponsorship program and getting it all organized with our methods. This could be at least like 2 to 3 months of work to get this done correctly. Right, so one single grant could bring in, you know, 10,000, 25,000, even $100,000. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we can get a grant, we'll be in good shape as well, right? Check.
Okay. We hope we'll improve on that.
It's like a donation, the grant.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Thank you, everyone.
And now, yeah, I will focus on payroll, personnel support, in bracket rankings, MBTs, and all things to do with the personnel support. I will also do Plasma. And I will prioritize on J support. I think I want to do that. I want to do J support.
And real work, not work reports.
No. Have you ever seen me doing work report? Not a work report. You have never seen me on that, please. Yeah. Calendar verification also. I want to do that. And executive virtual assistant. Yes. And many other more.
Okay, thank you, guys. Teresa, do you still have Teresa?
Hi. For me, it was a great session. I learned more about how it works in terms of budget for the teams and how important it is. And also how to work in, how can I start working in a responsibility. And so I will be working on, I will start working on the main session preparation and support, and also trying to do virtual office with Melinda. So this will be what I'm going to focus on. And for me, this session is 7.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Is when we are going to sleep, some of us. Although it's the morning to us, it's 8:26. But it is just going to be our night. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank